Many folks ain't never heard of me, so I'ma introduce myself by using some hyperboles. I am that voice that toss a tongue, but no one chatters back. They rather act like bladders acting spaz on rappers. Matter of fact, that's so real, I can't say psych nah yet. Feelings that I caught made me feel that caution. Waiting for the day I get the silence I deserve. So I ain't talking oxen when I say I just wanna be here. It seems like everywhere I go, everybody there trying to steal the show. So I'm here with my plan, I gotta let him hear who I am.
I wanna show that now's our time, today is my day. To make you say dang, cause I'm getting my way. It's my time to shine and it's okay.
Man, I'm finally getting this show, I can fit it raw. Zizzy, y'all, in case you didn't know me, let me tell you, it's a rap. Like I'm sick of eating hoagies. They try to lock this top notch down on the low key and provoke me. I stick my tongue at them, like Yoshi, I got to show people I can come up and swag. And when they feel my presence, they gon' back up like that. They see me now, they hear me very loudly, crystal clearly. Now they all jocking, pole jocking, trying to be near me. What is that? Now no one's ever speaking but me when I talk, cause when I talk it's all for DJ IG. Dag, yo, it's only me and my team that will come with more flavor than a bowl of ice cream. Since the verse is ending, I'ma thank you all for listening, taking time and witnessing. Now I'm finally glistening, feeling like I'm Christian. Well, that might not be the word, beg your pardon, y'all. I just wanna be heard. It seems like everywhere I go, everybody there trying to steal the show. So I'm here with my plan, I gotta let him hear who I am.
I wanna show that now's our time, today is my day. To make you say dang, cause I'm getting my way. It's my time to shine and it's okay.
Martin made him say that, Malcolm made him say that, Bill Clinton, oh boy, yeah, he made him say dag. I mean, dag, do I gotta blab? Make some people mad just to grab me that precious glam like I'm Spiegle's hand? Nah, man, ain't even right. And I won't test the road, cause I keep this next to my heart, it's like a stethoscope. If you ain't hear that, do not worry, you can rest assured. Google me or look me up with that Dewey Decimal, yeah. To be cherished and be loved is to be heard, to be seen and to be noticed and receive what you deserve. Put them high, no wait, cause see it ain't your turn. Psych, nah, DJ IG, we spittin' verse. And let that be my testimony, you just learned a lesson, homie. One that talks the talk and walks it is the one who gets the trophy. It's hard for me to step when they be stepping on me, but I ain't the only one. Yeah. It seems like everywhere I go, everybody there trying to steal the show. So I'm here with my plan, I gotta let him hear who I am.
I wanna show that now's our time, today is my day. To make you say dang, cause I'm getting my way. It's my time to shine and it's okay. Yeah.
One week removed from a road course thriller, and now comes a return to the ovals and a move out to the Northeast where anyone can have their own magic moment and a magical trip to victory lane. Live from the virtual New Hampshire Motor Speedway in the Northeast of the United States, we welcome you to the 9th race in the 4th season of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series, and of course as we bring you all of the coverage right here on MaxSpeedTV. So happy to have you once again on a Wednesday night. We're alongside Francisco Bacalhau atop the broadcast booth here in New Hampshire. My name is Kenneth Bueno. Francisco, it's hard to imagine a race that can top what was the road course race 1 week ago at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. A scintillating battle between Lawson Pio and Lance Hill. That came to a close. We return to 4-turn action, and we return to a short track, one of the favorites in this series, and should provide a very new challenge and one interesting that the drivers have yet to find in this calendar.
I think one of the biggest surprises coming out of Road America, Kenneth, is that Road America is probably going to be one of our better races of the season. We had a fantastic battle through most of the race between the up in the front with the leaders, Lawson Pio and Lance Hill. Lance Hill able to take away the win in that one. But we're back. We're in the Northeast at New Hampshire. It's the first time they've been here since season 2. They weren't here last season. It's the first time with these new cars. So we're about to see a couple of new things going on. Of course, New Hampshire, it's just over a mile. It's about a mile and 500ths or so in length, and very flat racetrack. The apron, it extends onto the racetrack by that bottom lane. So that bottom lane kind of has like some negative banking, if you will. We're going to see guys probably run a lane off of that, probably in the second or third one. I'm interested in seeing how they work that, because there's no PJ1 like they have in real life, so no real clue as to how these next-gen cars are going to work their way around this racetrack. But if there's anything that we'll know, and the way the season's gone, Kenneth, is that we're going to be in for a good one.
Probably in for a lot of unpredictability. And this track, New Hampshire, up in New Hampshire, obviously the state up in the Northeast, in Loudon, New Hampshire to be exact. This track, just adding on to the uniqueness that has been this 4-wide cup schedule so far. And this track opened back in 1990, so not the oldest circuit you'll see here in this 2022 calendar, but still a lot of history to be had at what they call the Magic Mile, 1.058 miles in length, 1.7 kilometers to be exact, with 2 to 7 degrees of banking in the turns and only 1 degree on either straight, front and back. So it doesn't have a lot of banking. You're going to have to rely on the bottom and the middle groove. That's where you're going to want to be. And we'll talk about some of the kinks with the transitions in the banking. It's also going to be something we'll discuss, especially with these new next-gen Cup cars. And speaking of uniqueness in the schedule, we continue what's been a great calendar so far in 2022. Of course, we started up in Daytona Beach, Francisco, and now we're up to Loudon, April 6th, the 9th race of the calendar. And then look what we have ahead after this short track: Indianapolis, Coda, Bristol, Chicago, which leads all the way to the regular season finale at the Kansas Speedway. It's going to be a great couple of weeks of action, especially given the fact that we've got Loudon, and we've got Indianapolis, which handles very differently on its own right, and then a brand new road course in Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, the next couple of weeks is going to be very interesting with the diverse racetracks like we mentioned. Around the Pocono time, we got Indianapolis next week. That's going to be a big one. Indy's always a big race that everybody wants to win. Coda, a new road course on the schedule. Someone's going to want to be the inaugural winner. And of course, Bristol night, which we know every time we go to Thunder Valley, it's always exciting and always exhilarating to go there. But I think an important thing on that last leg of the regular season is that the last 6 races, 4 of them are mile and a halves, and that's going to be very telling as to who's going to perform well in the playoffs. Because if you look in the playoffs, we basically have a 5 mile and a half. The only track that really isn't a mile and a half is Talladega. Of course, that's the super speedway. You have Rockingham, which is about a mile or so in length, but it drives like a mile and a half because of the banking there. You have Nashville super speedway and Darlington, a mile and a third, and of course Texas and Charlotte. So a lot of intermediate tracks are going to be ending this season, Kenneth. So if you're trying to see how you're going to perform in the playoffs, this next bit of the schedule after we go past Bristol is going to be very important on telling us who's going to be a championship lookout, who might be performing well at the right time, because performing on intermediates is going to be very crucial to being successful. And of course, New Hampshire, very similar to a track like Rockingham in the sense of the size, the way you have to drive the car with the low downforce package. Obviously, shape and banking is not the same, but still an intermediate-esque track that kind of has short track aspirations to it. It's going to be important nonetheless.
And if you're a driver in this series, Francisco, you want to take the chance on the section of the schedule that's got all those intermediate tracks, because ever since the start of the season, we've only been to one. That was Las Vegas a couple of weeks back, and that was about the 5th race of the campaign. So after that, you got a bunch of road courses, got a bunch of short tracks, got a bunch of larger tracks, and different ones in between. You don't have the 1.5 miles in there until the end of the regular season, then when you get to the playoffs. But still on our short track side of things, and we're going to start here from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Drivers are sat behind the iRacing official pace car, and that means it is our time to take a look at your starting grid, see exactly where every driver and your favorite driver will be lining up here tonight in round number 9 of the 4-wide racing Cup Series. Eric Schaefer in the 22 once again naps pole. 30.625 brings him to the front row alongside previous champion in the Cup Series, Scott Healy. We saw him do well at Road America just 1 week ago. He'll be starting on the inside of the top 3 where he finished last week.
Brian M. Smith, a figure that's always looking to be at the front of the field, is going to be starting in that second row with defending champion AJ Green to his outside.
AJ Green, very solid qualifying time, and look at the duo from Road America on the same row at the start of the race here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Lawson Peel came just short of the win as he tried to dive under Lance Hill into Canada corner. Peel will start 5th, Hill will start outside in P6.
Your fourth row consists of Craig Longslogger. He runs good at these kind of racetracks. We'll see if he's able to turn his season around, get a win. It's been a while since that 13's gone to victory lane, Kenneth. A winless streak at hand. We'll see if he can end it today. Adam Hallishire, he's looking to try and get another win as well.
Lounslogger was one of the contenders last time he went to this track. Colin Forson, the 99, will start from P9. A little bit of work to do for the Stonks Motorsports driver, but I feel like he'll be okay. Joe Sanchez will be to his outside. In the 55, he'll be the final driver in the top 10.
Jesse Preece, a solid qualifying effort, sees him in 11th place with Kyle Benson. A little bit down the order, but he's got some work to do, and we'll see if he can make up those points to try and make a playoff push.
Back to row number 7, you'll see the 71 of Curtis Kelly. He's done well with this next-gen car to start the season off, but he'll roll off from 13th. Tyler Murray, league owner, will be on the outside in P14.
15th is CJ Munier in that 89. We'll see if he's able to put together another solid race, with Cody Ivey making his return in 16th.
Back to row number 9, you'll find Michael Newbra on the 6 machine. Tony Kivet, the first driver not to take time in Q. He is P18.
Tyler Warner in that 33 is going to be in P19 with Marky Harris, the Auto Club race winner, in P20.
You'll look at the final drivers in this grid. Austin Bloom, Cody Kinsey to round out row number 11, and new driver Eric Stewart in the 82, the final driver out of the 23 cars filled here tonight from the virtual New Hampshire Motor Speedway. So it has been a while since we've been to this track, of course. Last time we were here, it was a completely different car, completely different powertrain, completely different everything, Francisco. It is hard to ignore the newness of this season with these cars. What are the expectations of a driver if you want to handle this New Hampshire Motor Speedway tonight?
I mean, honestly, this is one of the few times where I don't know what much I could say. I don't have racing experience here at New Hampshire with any car, let alone the next gen. So I'm a bit of in the blue in regards to trying to figure out what these guys are going to deal with. The best I can do is go off my previous knowledge. And it's going to be a crazy one. You see the back of the field very strung out trying to catch up. The field's going to be in the hands right there on that front row. They're going to green flag. We're underway from the Magic Mile. Oh, and look, the 14 hitting the wall back there, able to save it. He's going to lose a lot of spots and have some right front damage to his race car. Fantastic job to keep it straight. But the 14 of Alishire with big trouble on lap 1. As you see Smith loose on the bottom, he's going to lose a spot to D'Elia.
A lot of drama here in the opening lap from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. You saw the 14 on the right side of your screen on the back straightaway. Tagged the wall, was able to save it. And then coming out of turn 4, Brian Smith almost just about lost the race car completely. Whipped it sideways, and now he's in a fight with AJ Green. That is indeed for third place, the final spot on the podium. But nonetheless, a rather clean start here from Loudoun, New Hampshire. Probably not expected, especially since Richmond, where we had a caution-filled evening. There's a lot of drama there, a lot of chaos. So far, some developments, but we seem to be clean as Brian Smith remains to the inside of AJ Green.
Yeah, let's see if we can get a look back to see what happened with that 14, because he was fine, and then all of a sudden, that car broke loose on him. So we'll try and see if on my end at least, if we can get a look here. So off of turn 2, it looks as though he just got loose all up on his own, and the car swung on him. He overcorrects it into the wall. You see right there, there's the overcorrection hard into the wall. Look at that 10, how sideways he got trying to avoid that, as he was able to get by and not hit anything. But unfortunately for 14 of Adam Alishire, he's got damage on his race car. He's lost spots, so not the start he was looking for.
And he's down to 13, so of course a lot of track position out of that one. But nonetheless, the 14 able to continue his run, and we stay green. But a big crash from AJ Green. The 48, we saw him battling for third. There are a couple of more cars involved. Lance Hill seems to be one of them. I believe Lawson Peel might be the third one in the contact here. There's the 12, all beat up to shreds on the front end of the race car. Lance Hill also picked up a significant amount of damage on both sides of the race car rather. And AJ Green spun like a top on the back straightaway to bring us our first caution.
I had just switched onto that just after looking at the incident with the 14, and it was deja vu, really. It was the exact same situation as what we saw with the 14 of Alishire. So Stonks Motorsports having issues off of turn 2. So you see right there, Smith slides up, Green trying to put the power down. He's going to get loose right here, and he overcorrects it, much like his teammate Hill. Hill has nowhere to go, goes into the 12. They make contact and slide into the tire barriers on the inside of the racetrack. Fortunately for most of these drivers, they're able to scatter and avoid the 48 of AJ Green sitting on the racetrack. So here we go, on board with Hill. You see a little bit of contact up in front of him, but it's all good. And then all of a sudden he's going to get loose here or corrects it, but Hill has nothing that he's able to do, nowhere to go. And these two collide after being 1-2 for most of the race at Road America. Within the first 5 laps, they're hard into the tire barriers.
It's such a hard shot for the winner of last week, as there you look at the aftermath of the 38. Adam Alishire will also take a trip down pit road. Of course, he had the damage on lap 1 from the back straightaway, so at that part he's going to get that fixed on the right side of the car. Mark Harris is also in for service. He's got no damage. He came clear that, but all 3 of the drivers in your screen, apart from the red Ford Mustang and Alishire, are the main victims here on this first caution. 2 of them in Stonks Motorsports, so a huge hit for both of them. Of course, Green, defending champion, Lance Hill, winner from last week, coming off of very high highs, and now this is a very low here tonight from Loudon. Of course, they do have faster pairs to their disposal. Again, Francisco, we've said it countless times over and over again. If you've got a faster pair, you do not want to use it so early in the race.
And I think that's what you were seeing with them when we were on pit road with them. None of those 3 guys decided to use it. Not even Alishire in his own incident decided to use it. I think it's way too important of a tool to have to be using it on lap 6 of the race. You just don't know what's to come. You don't know this. For all we know, this could go green, or for all we know, this could have a couple of cautions in it. So we're not sure about that. But the only thing you can be sure of, avoid using that faster pair if you can. At this point, you'll take running with a damaged race car at least until about halfway into this race before you decide to use that faster pair, because it's better to get to halfway and have a clean race car from then onwards versus get the clean race car now and risk being in a crash when you're not going to gain much by having a clean car on lap 10 versus having it maybe on lap 110.
And I believe they've also figured that out too, because you saw all 3 of them. AJ Green still on pit road, Lance Hill and Lawson Peel decided to take some damage repair, but have not elected to use that fast pair just yet. So they're going to wait. They're going to bide their time. They're just going to try and keep themselves at least in the race for now, and don't have to be as competitive as they want to be, but at least still be in the race. Still very early on. Only 7 laps complete out of the 150. Pace car is down. Eric Schaefer is back up and away. A solid jump from the pole sitter. He'll dive into turn 1. We have a battle for second already on tap. Ryan Smith underneath Scott Healy.
Yeah, he's going to be underneath Scott Healy, trying to see if he can take the lead away. But second place away. He doesn't have the momentum off the corner. I think that's what we're going to see for most of the night, Kenneth. Traditionally from New Hampshire, if you're able to get to the outside of somebody, it's usually where the momentum's going to be at off of these corners. With such a flat corner, it's very hard to stay on the throttle as it is as you try to slide through the exit. But when you have a car on your outside, you can't go wide open up until the straightaway. So you lose a lot of time side by side on the inside. So unless you have a pace advantage, you're not going to look for a pass on the inside, barring any slide job attempts, but that's not going to help with the flatness of the racetrack. That'll just overheat your tires.
And if you were on board there just watching with Brian M. Smith, the way he attacks this track, very different from a lot of the others as he dives in deep. Oh, we seem to have a car around in the back as we were watching the 78 dive into turn 3. And it seems to be Lance Hill. I believe it was around, but I believe he's going to be able to keep it straight. We'll stay green. No caution on the racing surface, but back to my point about Brian M. Smith. You see him drive up the racetrack, then drive down. It's a diamond approach, Francisco, that you got to take here. New Hampshire, as Schaefer almost about lost the car. He's going to hand the lead over to Scott Healy. I was about to talk about the diamond approach. I guess when you get a little bit too overeager on the throttle, that's what happens.
Yeah, and you do have to diamond this racetrack just a bit. You see a car off the racetrack back there. But the diamond effect is going to be used here at New Hampshire. You want to enter low, slide up a lane, and then diamond the exit. But you have to be careful because you see that line all the way at the bottom, just above that yellow line as the caution flag waves. There's no banking there. There's negative banking there, so it turns the car on the opposite direction. As you actually see a couple cars down here going into turn 1. That's the 33 of Tyler Warner. You have the 5 of Marky Harris. It looks like they're going to have some trouble into turn 1, and you see some rear damage to the 33, and someone's going to have some front damage somewhere to have caused this. We'll see here as you get a look back, and it's going to happen on the front straightaway because we saw what happened there in turn 1, and it happened at the very back of the field. You see a couple damaged cars around. Lance Hills, by the way, had a self-spin. Nobody got into him. That's what caused him to spin further in the back, and he was able to keep it enough of a control to keep it within the field. So good for him. But we're going to see here now as they work their way to the front straightaway. It looks like something happened up ahead. You see a car stopped and another car stopped there, and they get into each other. So A separate incident, Kenneth, with that car that I believe we saw up the racetrack. You see it right there. I believe we saw him up the racetrack. That's Cody Kinsey. We saw him up the racetrack. And right in front of Alishire, actually, no, the car in front of him is going to step out. Alishire gets into the back of him. Very intriguing.
So this is multiple causes, at least on the front straightaway there. You see the result of Mark Harris and Tyler Warner getting into it, both of them spinning around. It was the car in front. I believe it might have been Tony Kivet in this one. Indeed it was. This white and red, it looks like Diet Coke machine. You see him slam the inside wall, and he's slowed down, so he's clear of all the trouble. It's just when everybody's catching up to Cody Kinsey that it all starts to arise, especially with the main two that we saw on the first look at the incident between the 33 and the 5. So at least a 4 to 5 car incident here to bring us our second caution of the night here on lap 13 from Loudon. There's a look at the 93 of Kinsey. Mark E. Harris is on pit road. Looks like Tyler Warner has equipped the faster pair, so they're going to waste it early, as opposed to the 3 who were involved in the first yellow on the back straightaway. They decided to keep on to it for now, but for Warner, he's going to immediately slash it off. He'll be driving off a pit road. There's Tony Kivet, and once again, more drama coming out of the corners. And Francisco, it seems that that's one of the biggest issues here from New Hampshire, and you talked about it, just the transition on the banking where you can't be 100% on the throttle until you're officially on the straightaway. And a lot of these drivers, of course, they want to maximize speed out of the corners. Maybe they get a little bit impatient. Maybe they feel like they can push the car. And then we know one thing about these next-gen cars, I mean, they really snap very easily without warning. And it seems that was the problem there for Tony Kivet, and that's what results in everybody checking up in the incident that followed.
Yeah, with the Gen 6, you can get away with going full throttle just as you're still in the corner because the car had side force. When the car would step out, it would sort of hang out in a way, you know, like the car would sort of hang sideways in a controllable way. Without the side force in these cars, if it steps out, it is extremely difficult to keep it under control. The diffuser sort of plays a factor into that. When you're sideways, it's trying to push the air directly towards the back, kind of not allowing side force to even work underneath the race car. So it's a lot of things with this next-gen car that make it the way it is, but it makes it very difficult in a situation. That's why you see guys stepping out a lot. They're trying to run it like they're used to, like they can with every other vehicle that they can run here. They're able to go full throttle while you're still on corner exit, right about there, really. And you can't really get fully full throttle without trusting the car until you reach that pit entry if you don't want to risk spinning the car out. Maybe these guys will get some more confidence, start reading the car a little bit better by the time the race is nearing its end. But right now, that seems to be the case because you do not want to take a chance and end up like those 5 or 7 or 8 cars that have ended up with a junked race car before 10% of this race.
You definitely don't want to be involved in problems very early, not only in this race, but any race on the calendar. And of course, it means a lot of points. And when you get to the halfway mark of these races, you do get points if you land in the top 5. So you just rather have a clean race car before everything starts to really break out into chaoticness. You really want to stay clean as much as you can. These top 2, though, have been really clean. So as for with Eric Schaefer in the 22, is just the problem is he's fallen back to 3rd, I believe now 4th, due to that almost spin there out of turn 2. Gave Scott Healy the lead. And now Scott Healy on a chosen part of the outside lane on the restart. He will have discretion. He will lead us back to coverage here at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Brian M. Smith, despite the almost spin, kicked out the car out of turn 4 underneath this 64. He's going to be underneath him this time around on the restart to go up through the gears. Field stacks up just a bit. Lap 16 is underway. Scott Healy will bring the field back to turn 1.
And he got a good launch there. Was able to time the restart really good. He's going to be out and clear for the lead, but Smith is going to try and stay in tow. Schaefer clear for 3rd. Alexander clear for 4th. Jesse Freeze has worked his way up in the top 5. Kenneth, a good run early on for that double zero, or the zero car as shown on his custom paint. And we got Joe Sanchez up ahead in front of the teammates of Tyler Murray and Kyle Benson, who have worked their way up through the field. Remember, Kyle Benson, with that near miss on the opening lap on the 14 of Alishire, you're on board with him now. He's behind that 0 of Jesse Freeze and the 55 of Sanchez. And for the most part, you're seeing single file throughout the field. And when you're not, you're seeing a car on the outside like we're seeing Freeze do right now. He's trying to hold strong up there. And right now, you're probably seeing some guys that might be a little bit faster than him, like the 55, who are able to go to the inside. And speaking of 55, you see him right there. Oh, we have a car up wrecking into the wall. It's the Schaefer machine.
Schaefer around. We saw him take the pole earlier on tonight, and he's in trouble in turns 3 and 4. There's a look at the battered Camaro on the front end. And on lap 18, we've got our third caution of the race, as the 22 becomes the victim this time around. I believe looks to be a one-car incident only, 22 being the only big problem here. But once again, we will relay under, or at least right behind the iRacing official pace car. Take a look as they enter to turn 3. This is just behind Brian M. Smith, by the way. I think Francisco, just a case of overdriving the car. It stepped out, tried to save it, and then just overcorrected it into the safer barrier.
That's exactly what it is, Kenneth. You put the nail on the hammer right there. He's going to drive into the corner, try and get close to the 19. You see, he's pretty far back. He's going to drive it in very aggressively. The car will not take that with the lack of side force. He gets loose, and you see right there, for a brief second, it looked like maybe, just maybe, it was going to stay straight. Unfortunately, he made a double move there. The car overcorrects it hard into the outside wall, just in front of those cars, and several cars just barely missing that 22. But, you know, you got to feel for Schaefer. He was able to get that win a couple weeks ago at Pocono, but it has not been exactly what he's been hoping for ever since. Has not had the luck in these races. Was able to get pole again tonight, like you mentioned, but it is not looking very pretty for him right now. And will not use the fast repair right now, which I think is still the right move. I mean, we've seen caution after caution, and I think if this is the way the race is going to be, if you're going to have a lot of cautions, I think you're going to be in a good shape if you just keep taking optional repairs as you may, and take the fast repair later on in the race, because you're not going to exactly lose a lap, which is the most important thing. If you keep having cautions, you're not going to lose a lap.
That's a very good point. I was just about to bring it up as you watched Eric Schaefer take repairs on a pit road. He obviously not electing for the fast repair this early on in the race, but that is the saving grace here. If you guys like AJ Green, Lawson Peel, if you're Lance Hill, the guys who picked up a lot of damage on the opening start of this race, now with all these yellows, you've got the opportunity to just keep walking down pit road, keep getting onto the pit lane, and then of course getting repairs as much as you need, and then waiting until the right time to strike. At least you've got now more of a relatively competitive car than you would at the start of that crash, or really the start of the aftermath of that crash. Lawson Peel had no front clip, he had no hood, his engine was exposed, car was all torn up, but now he's got a front clip and a hood back on that Chevrolet Camaro. His car still rather wounded, but he's patched it up a little bit, and it's helped that all these yellows have come out. There's a look at the Cobalt Chevrolet Camaro, how well it's made in terms of the progress ever since that first crash on the back straightaway. So it has helped them significantly, and should see it help them further down the line if we continue to get further crashes in this race. But you're right, Eric Schaefer has had a struggle start to the season, and then of course picked up the win at Pocono, has had some highlights here with this next gen car, and it doesn't seem to be doing him well here in the Magic Mile, not having any of the pixie dust this time around, as I believe we're going to get the 1 to green signal on the iRacing official pace car. Scott Healy and Brian Smith ready to bring us back to green flag racing. So a lot of problems already, not only with the exits, Francisco, but with the entries, diving a little bit too much, getting too much out of this car. If you step it out, this car will bite your leg, and it will not let go. It's kind of like a pit bull in certain cases. It's been the problem here tonight. I think it's just the same trend of what we saw at Richmond. Just a lot of drivers in trouble very early.
I think we got to call Peter Pan and maybe sprinkle some pixie dust on these guys. Maybe that'll give them some luck with entering these cars. That's been an issue all season, for that matter, whether we're at short tracks or intermediates. I'm sure you've taken notice of this. Every time we're going through corner entry on restarts or on new tires, it is always a problem. Cars are stepping out, and it could be low tire temperatures. I think that's something that's very much the case with the low-profile tires. But I think part of it is also just the natural way of the car. Something in there is causing this to be the case, whether it's the side force or the diffuser. But we have some issue that is causing these cars to get overtly loose on entry of the corner on restarts. And speaking of restarts, a good one by the 64 of Healy's able to get ahead of the 19, or excuse me, of the 78. He's able to get clear into that second spot. Joe Sanchez, though, around the outside of Lonsdorfer, he's going to try and get into that third spot, pinning him down on that flat part of the racetrack, which is a tactic you can do. And he's going to now pull ahead into the third spot. Lonsdorfer's going to have to fight with Benson for fourth.
Comes Lonsdorfer to the inside of the Murray Reedy Motorsports number 10. Benson, one of the contenders early on in the season. We saw him do well with his teammate Austin Reedy at Daytona. Of course, he ended up getting that win. Now they're side by side. We've got 3 wide behind them. Speak of which, Mark Harris was on the inside of that. Cody Ivy's in the middle. Colin Forster, he picked up brand new tires and fuel as well, and also worked on his race car just a bit on pit road. It is just a mess of cars. This looks to be 10th on back, just behind Tyler Warner. He's settled out of 3 wide, but this is the danger zone if you're any one of these guys.
I will say, if we somehow manage to get a long enough run at this point, I think the people that came in for tires will get some sort of advantage. They'll be able to work their way through the field to a certain point. I mean, we ran a lot of caution laps, so they don't have a lot of green flag laps on them as far as the leaders are concerned, but they're an advantage nonetheless. So if they're able to get into the top 10, maybe at the edge of the top 5, I say for most of those guys, it'll be a success, because go long enough in a run, everybody's gonna have to come back down pit road to get some tires, and you probably gain some track position out of that. So I think it's a good move if you're in the back to do something like this early on when you've had all these cautions. I mean, at a certain point, are you just gonna stay out on the racetrack and follow everybody with the pace car?
Oh, I'm not sure. I mean, depending on preference, some drivers want to be behind the pace car as much as possible, but you do want to be under green flag circumstances, and I believe here, this run, if it could realize itself, if it could come into fruition, come up a lot of these guys in turn three, especially the likes of Forster, who has done a good job taking trips out pit road as Murray goes sideways. That will bring out the caution. Although he does not hit anything, he's able to merge back on. That's the chicane there on the road course configuration here in New Hampshire. Murray is able to keep the car collected, keep it without any scratches or dents on it, but him being sideways alone will wave the yellow flag once more. That's Barney, got it in hand at the start-finish line, and we'll see exactly what happened here.
It looks like it was another case of somebody getting loose, and he double overcorrects this time. He's going to get loose off the corner. He overcorrects, locks it down, and he's going to turn left again to keep it from going back across the racetrack. He's going to lock it down. Never really spins around, but being that slow and that far sideways on the racetrack, iRacing decided that it was not a good idea, as he's going to go over through the road course lumps there. They're going to decide that's not exactly a safe idea to leave cars racing. You're going to be on board with him. Look at this wheel control. He's going to put it left and back to the right just as it whips around, just to make sure it stays in the right direction. And he does a good job of doing so. Unfortunately, iRacing itself in this situation decided to throw the caution flag, not the admin. I do believe if it wasn't for iRacing cautions, that probably would have stayed green, considering that Murray was able to keep it pointed in the right direction, Kenneth.
Well, luckily, at least in the case for Murray, he's going to lose track position, but he's going to be with the field, and instead of potentially being lapped if he spun there and then got way out of pace just because he's so far back from the field. So for Murray, he's going to hit pit road this time by. There he is getting some tires on his Chevrolet Camaro. We anticipate 4 fresh Goodyear rubbers. There it is as the left side jacks go up. Colin Forster is also in. I believe he's getting some fuel here. So Forster is trying to play the alternate approach here over the first stint of this race. Eric Schaefer, the 3rd car in. He, of course, is getting damage repair from that incident in 3 and 4. So another caution comes out. Murray gets saved. I think very smart there in the incident for him to back out and swivel out of the way of traffic so that he wouldn't involve anybody else. So he's the only car involved in this yellow. We'll slow the field once more. Scott Healy will have control this time by. So one big note about New Hampshire Motor Speedway in history of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. Last time we visited, mentioned at the top of the show, was Season 2. So it's been a very long time since this series has gone to the Northeast, to New Hampshire, and to this racetrack in specific. Of course, different cars. We had a very different field, Francisco. We have about 8 more cars in this race tonight on entry than we did at New Hampshire a while back in Season 2. We had a total of 13 cars that registered for that Season 2 race. The winner, of course, Nicholas Fizuzzi, who is unfortunately not here tonight to defend his win. But the only drivers who have experienced that Season 2 race, and tonight, the new experience with the next gen, are Tyler Werner in the 33, Kyle Benson in the 10, Craig Launslager in the 13, and then the last one is Tyler Murray in the 8 car. So I think that's a very good tidbit, Francisco, of just how much this series has changed over time, when more than 50% of the field are drivers who have never even raced at this track in this competition, in this series prior.
You sounded like Adam Alexander when he's talking about the new guys that are racing at an Xfinity racetrack for the first time. But the series hasn't gone there for a while. I mean, half the field has never raced with this competition at this racetrack with these race cars. So it's a new environment for them. And when you go into a new environment like that, it makes you unsure. Not because you don't trust your ability, but you don't know what to expect of everyone else. And that's usually what it comes down to in these races. You know what you can do, but what can everyone else do? And that's what you start figuring out early on. You see where you stand versus everybody. You know how much you're pushing. You know where you can, where you can't, where others can or can't. And you go based off that, and that's how you start building your notebook. And I think when you get enough races, usually drivers will start knowing exactly what they have to do. But not a lot of people can say that they have a notebook at all to build on. You mentioned the list there, about 6 of them really that are still in this that could do so. So it's basically a free-for-all. These guys learning this racetrack once more with these new cars, and we're going to see who's able to land victorious at the end of the night. So far, these two have basically been top 2 all night thanks to the caution flags. We'll see if we can get a long enough run in. We got the restart going. Healy able to get a good start, and Benson does as well. He's going to be side by side, nosing ahead of Smith going into 1. He's going to drift up high just a little bit. Smith does as well, trying to pinch him up there, but the exit's going to belong with the 10 of Benson. He's going to get ahead just barely of Smith. He's going to get clear for second. Joe Sanchez is on his tail for third.
Beautiful move by Kyle Benson, but here comes Brian M. Smith for the retaliation. He's not going to find the nose in out of turns 3 and 4. And open the door here for Sanchez to walk into the top 3. So Benson, I was about to mention, he's the highest running driver amongst the group who have raced here before in the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series in prior history. And now he's moved up into second. But we've got a great battle now for P4 on the racetrack. Sanchez tried to look underneath Brian M. Smith, but that also ended up opening the door for the 13 of Lounslugger. Finds the way to the bottom. He'll dive into turn 3 with a nose underneath. That'll allow Jesse Priest to maybe be the 3rd horse in it. But Sanchez may have the run here out of turn 4.
And you saw right there in that shot, a driver's made his way back into the top 10 is that 12 of Lawson Peel. Still damage on his race car, Kenneth, but he's worked his way back up. He's starting to gain some track position. There you see the damage on the left front. But he does have some newer tires, and he's trying to see if he can gain some track position to stay out of the trouble that he's unfortunately been dealt with. You see Lonsauger gets clear of the 55, but does not take that position. You see now a move being made there. Looks like by Curtis Kelly. He's going to get into the 13. Around goes Lonsauger in front of Curtis Kelly. Priest is going to spin as well. Nobody else involved.
And the caution will wave once again. As Jesse Priest goes around, he tries to recoup himself. The 13 got tagged in the middle of the corner and then went around. Everybody checked up, and I was just about to mention how tight that part of the race is, because everybody was about 2 wide at least every single row from 10th on back. And once again, the caution waves here from New Hampshire. We remain under the yellow flag once again. Take a look at how this all started. Curtis Kelly is underneath Jesse Priest, who's trying to make it 3 wide, almost split the middle there, as Lounslugger was going to be in the sucker hole, but he ended up getting tagged by the 71 of Curtis Kelly on the way in the middle of the corner. Here's a look at Lounslugger, loses the fight against Sanchez as he was underneath for a while, and then Curtis Kelly and Jesse Priest come diving into turn 3. It seems to be a big place where a lot of drivers want to make moves. Then there's a slight contact, and then Peel gets a hit. I think that's very monumental there if you're the 12. You want to avoid as much damage as possible from anything else after the first couple lap incident. And there's Priest, who got tagged at the rear end of that incident and then got sent sideways. Luckily, I don't think anybody suffers race-ending damage, so everybody will be able to continue. But again, nobody wants to be in this predicament at all.
Yeah, I saw the 3 wide going there into turn 3, and I was wondering how likely that was not going to end in a wreck, and it was not very high, as you saw that the 13 got tagged there. Unfortunately, the 12 appeal did get some front-end damage. He was without a clip once more, so they're going to have to reattach that. And you see just a slight tap, and that's honestly something that could very easily happen at a track like New Hampshire. We talked about the bottom, how there's no banking down there. It forces the car up the racetrack if you're trying to maintain speed. So if you get a car down there, they're going to drift up, and it makes it very difficult. You want to try and hold out with the car on your outside, but you just can't because the track does not allow you to do so. And we almost saw pit stops there. A couple guys tried to fake out and see if guys would bite and go down pit road. And it looks as though Benson did go down pit road, because you see him lower down in the running order, and he's going to try to put on some fresh Goodyears and see what he can do.
So Benson, one of the drivers to take tires and fuel on that stop. I believe Colin Forster was one to join him, and of course all the drivers involved in that incident, all of them trying to repair their race cars, they went down because of that, not because of strategy per se. So Benson gonna fall back in track position. We'll see if he can pick it up, but for right now, it's been all Scott Healy since the almost spin by Eric Schaefer after he got loose out of turn 2, then got into his incident. Healy has been controlling this race. With the fact that we have yet to see a proper long green flag run tonight from Loudon, it's only helped Scott Healy remain in the lead and kind of keep everybody else at bay. Second on back, Brian M. Smith, Joe Sanchez, all the guys who have tried to make something work haven't been able to do so. And Healy, of course, his strength alone as a driver obviously goes into that case with cautions also giving him help in that scenario. So everybody will be once again slowed down. You see a bit of a distance there between Tyler Murray and what looks to be Michael Newbraw back in 13th. Of course, all of those guys back on 14th on back were the ones to pick. Craig Lownslugger, there's Colin Forster, Cody Kinsey, Jesse Prees. So majority of the drivers who were involved in that caution, but then there's Kyle Benson sprinkling Colin Forster, the two strategy guys here so far. So seems to be just like Richmond, Francisco. I know you weren't there in the broadcast booth for that, but Richmond, we saw a lot of cautions, a lot of drivers in trouble out of turn 2, entering turn 1. Seems to be the main case, and if you're the leader, I think you may like this scenario because you've got open opportunities to come down pit road whenever you want. And of course, when everything freezes, when timing loops stop, and you're considered the race leader, you can just hold it for as long as you can.
I think it's harder than it looks in a certain aspect, and when it comes down to making decisions on when to come down pit road. Obviously, we haven't ran long enough yet, so there's no real reason to come down pit road, but at some point you're going to have to. You don't know when you're going to get that long run, so as each caution comes out, he's going to have to make a decision at some point as he gets to the launch and he's going to go and take the lead. He's going to have to make a decision at one point. What lap is going to be the number that does it for him when he decides to come down pit road, get some fresh tires, fill it up with fuel, and ensure himself for at least the next 70 or 60 or so laps because of our 75% window. But I'll tell you, Smith didn't get a good launch, but he got a good 1 and 2, and he's right on the back bumper of your leader. Joe Sanchez has worked his way up to 3rd again, and he's trying to see if he can pounce on those two.
It was a good 1 and 2 by both the 70 and the 55. There was a third car that also got a good 1 and 2. That was the 14 of Adam Allenshire. We saw him hit the wall in the opening lap on the back straightaway. And now because of all the yellows, because of all the switches, he's up into the top 5. He's got some nose damage as Tyler Warner in the back hits the outside wall. But Adam Allenshire has made the recovery jump, and he's up in the top 5 as he watches what could be the potential battle for the lead.
And Schaefer's not too far back as well. He's already back in the top 10, trying to put some moves on with some newer tires. You see him back there, that camouflage car, as you see the 14 get a little bit loose there off the corner. A lot of guys are loose off these corners, Kenneth, and I think that's going to come down to what we talked about. These guys are trying to go full throttle on exit, but they just can't do it. The car looks like it has the grip. The tires may have the grip. It does not have the aero grip, as you see Smith almost tagging in the wall.
One thing I'm noticing here, we were on board there with Allenshire for a bit in the middle of the corner. These drivers are downshifting in the middle of the apex. They're going down from 5th to 4th gear. And at Richmond, we saw that as a phenomenon. You would go 5th gear, you would transfer very quickly before immediately shutting it back down to 4th gear in the middle of the corner when you're low on revs. We're seeing that once again here from New Hampshire, a very small track, little banking. You've got to go slower as a result. That means when you want the acceleration out of the exit, you want as much throttle as you can. You're going to shift down into 4th, get as much revs as you can, get as much acceleration as possible. So we're seeing drivers do right now, and it appears to be no issues here on the opening laps of this stint after the restart. And Scott Healy is pulled away, but a big wiggle out of turn 4.
That's probably the biggest wiggle he's had so far. He's not exactly been in a position to do many of those. It's been a lot of caution laps, but right now getting probably one of our longer runs already of the afternoon, and the top 3 have kind of broken away. As you can tell there, Healy's pulled away from Smith and from the 55 of Sanchez. Those two are together for 2nd and 3rd. Then you have to go back, it looks as though just over a second if you want to try and find the driver in 4th place. So right now the top 3 have really pulled away. There you see back there, Schaefer has now moved up into 4th, Kenneth. So I do have to think that he perhaps pitted for some tires there, and he's trying to use them to gain back the track position. He's doing a good job of that now, and I do think if the run goes long enough, he could catch up to those guys, because the tire difference is going to matter. As you see, Lance Hill's actually now behind his teammate, the 14 of AJ Green or Adam Alshire, to try and make a move. As you actually have a spin in the back on the top of your screen, a spinner in the back in turn 2. It's going to be longer again, and we're back under yellow.
Caution flag out once again, and I was about to tag off of your point, Francisco, about Eric Schaefer. He's got 15 lap old tires. The rest of the field, at least in front of him, 42 laps old. They have not pit this entire race up to this point. As you watch Craig Lownslugger pick himself back up, go up the gears, and he's going to try and couple up with the rest of the field as we'll try to find out whether he got hit or whether this was a one-car incident coming out of turn 2. So this is him underneath Mark Harris. This is beneath the top 15. I think that's the explanation that started it off. Just a slight contact and then a second hit to the 5. It sends the 13 around for good.
It looked like the car just did not want to hold the bottom. And right there you saw he made a correction in the middle of the corner. We're going to go up on top. We're going to look from above. You see right there, there's the first contact. The car just drifts up, and then he's going to make a correction, then he's going to slide into him again. That's a bigger hit. That caused him to spin. And we have split strategies on pit road. Smith and Schaefer stay out. Healy is going to come down pit road with Sanchez. Murray stays out with Benson and Preece. Alishire in. Lance Hill in. Cody Kinsey's going to stay out. So split strategies, Kenneth. And we talked about this on the last restart. I said, what lap is going to be the lap that they decide we have to come down pit road and do something? And it was lap 44 for some of these guys, but it was not this lap for for Brian M. Smith and others.
It seems to be the target for a majority of the field. There's Sanchez as he tries to catch up to the 64 of Scott Healy, who will get out right in front of him. Alishire, Hill, Munier, Green, Peel, Colin Forster. See Tyler Warner back there in the far shot. Of course, Lounslugger on the pit stop for damage repair. And then there's Brian M. Smith. Everybody else behind him who have stayed out on this stop. But at least in this case, Francisco, now you got to look at the telemetry here. And out of the drivers who have made stops, of course, Schaefer and company behind them, they've pitted at least more than about 15 laps ago. Now they're coming up to complete lap number 18. Schaefer and Murray are on that stop. It's 10 laps coming to 11 for Benson and a majority of the ones behind him. And then it's Brian Smith, who is yet to pit the entire race. So now, if you're Smith hanging out here by yourself, what do you do to fend off the rest of the field? Or do you just kind of brace for impact and wait until the next caution?
You're going to be waiting for the next caution. I think that's why he stayed out. I think he feels they're still going to have more cautions, and I think he also thinks that to get ahead of a driver like Healy in this situation, it's let the laps run, let them get their tires now. They're probably going to work their way up through the field and pass you eventually, and you're going to hope to pit in maybe 10 or 15 laps and then use your new tires against them in sort of the opposite way, and it's going to be a yo-yo effect from here on out, and that's what you'll get in a situation like this where you get a bunch of cautions. Someone's going to create a second strategy at one point and try to alternate, and one of them will prevail. At one point, you're going to get a long enough run where at the end of it, everyone's going to come down pit road. But of course, we're going to see which one prevails, because depending which one prevails, we'll have a group of drivers up in front and a different group a little bit further back. So we'll see what Smith, Schaefer, Benson, and the rest of these guys in this group that stayed out do, and we'll see what Healy and the 14 and all of them do after pitting there on the pit stops, and Joe Sanchez as well. They're going to restart just outside the top 10. So this will be the first time we see Brian M. Smith in the lead, Kenneth. We're going to see if he's able to pull away, or if Schaefer, who was leading earlier in the race, is going to challenge him.
Schaefer may end up with the advantage with the tires. Of course, Smith is just going to have to hold out hope that something works out in his favor, or maybe another caution comes out and he can end up in the right place at the right time. It looks like 10th on back amongst the drivers who did come down on that last stop. Looks like Alishire is among the first. Of course, Scott Healy being the leader out of all that. But they're all chasing Brian M. Smith, who's going to hold on to the lead for now, and he will lead the field back out of turn 4 and to the green flag once again here at the virtual New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Pace car makes its way to the entrance of pit road. Smith is on the outside, Schaefer on the bottom. We're back under green. Solid jump for the 78. We'll see how long he can keep it up.
Clear into turn 1. They're side by side for second, though. Schaefer trying to hold off the 10 of Benson, who's got the outside position on him. Very close there between those two. Murray and Preece have cleared into the top 5 behind them, and it looks as though Benson has the advantage. Entering turn 3, Schaefer's going to slide up a little bit, almost gets into the back of the 10, and off the corner, Benson's going to have the momentum and the run to clear for that position. Curtis Kelly's moved up into 6th. He's up in front of Cody Kinsey right now as 4th place is trying to battle it out there. You see Preece now to the inside of Murray, and you see the stack up going on behind them. But look who's in that battle, the 64 of Healy. He just came down pit road. He has these newer tires, and he's already working his way up. Look at the grip advantage that he has. And there you see Joe Sanchez, the 14 of Adam Alishire. They're all trying to work their way through this pack, and if they're able to do so before the next caution comes out, they'll have the track position and the tires on these guys. So we'll see now, going into turn 1, the 64 is going to clear for that 5th position. He's going to be behind Jesse Preece, who sits in 4th, and just like that, Scott Healy's back in the top 5.
And Scott Healy is going to waste no time potentially catching up to the top 3. And the benefit here, he's putting a distance between himself and Joe Sanchez, because Sanchez is not having a good time trying to get around all these guys as Curtis Kelly almost lost the car, wiggled it out. He just up to the 70 feet of banking as CJ Winier goes around all by his lonesome. Caution flag will wave out again.
Just at the outer edge of the frame, we were able to pick up that 89 going around. Couldn't see how. We'll get a look at it here, Kenneth, but it just goes back to the kind of the theme of the race, really. It's you figured after the second or third caution that this is kind of what we were going to see, and you know, getting a second look at it, it was on his own. He was on the flat part of the racetrack. See right there, he turns onto the flat and just no grip whatsoever down there.
And you can tell right there from the cockpit shot, once he got sideways, he knew, yep, I'm going around. He didn't even move the steering wheel to correct it back straight. He just knew how to hold on to the brakes, just get out of everybody's way, just wait for the dust to settle. And fortunately, he escapes without any damage. So if that's a positive news there for the 89, is that he'll escape without any significant hits to his Chevrolet Camaro. He'll keep the
split
car
strategies
clean.
again.
And we were questioning, Francisco, whether Smith was going to come down pit road. This is the time. Lap 51, but Schaefer is going to follow.
I think the more intriguing thing is Benson stayed out. He's now in the lead of the race, and he still has some relatively old tires on his hands. So we're seeing a different strategies. I'm not exactly sure where it's all going to land at the end of it all. You get enough different strategies in here, and you're going to have a headache trying to keep track of all of them. I hope we get a long enough run soon enough so everyone could get back on a level playing field and go from there. It was much easier when you were trying to manage one or two different strategies versus when you start getting 3, 4, and 5 in.
Starting to stack all of them together. I know it doesn't get easy. It doesn't get easy at all. And I mean, when you have a lot of cautions like this, it allows the opportunities to come up by themselves. When you've got these yellows, got drivers in the back, drivers in the midfield, drivers up front that will like to pit at different times, and then that just changes up the game. When you're under a green flag strategy, you're forced to stay there until the fuel window opens if you get that far into the run. And then that's where you kind of have more of a window to make your decision, whether you want to go a little bit earlier, whether you want to hit the middle, or whether you want to run the tank dry and go all the way to the end of the fuel window as far as you can stretch it. But with these yellows, you don't really have to worry about fuel in that case of staying out of window and running out of fuel at the wrong time. You know, when you're stuck behind the pace car, you can save fuel, and obviously you're not burning it going full throttle on the straightaways, and you've got the chances when pit road opens to come in and of course come out or stay out if you want to. So all these differing strategies coming together. Brian M. Smith, you see him there on the far side of the screen now getting blocked by the ticker, but he is now fallen all the way back to 17th, so almost last couple of positions out of it. There's Eric Schaefer, who actually looks like he came out of pit road just in front of the 78. So although the 22 missed his stall, Smith is going to be down one spot to that 22, the pole sitter here tonight, and Benson will now be on the catbird seat with Healy now in second. So I don't think we were surprised, Francisco, to see the fresh tire guys do well on that last run, but to do this well, to the fact that Scott Healy's in second and Joe Sanchez is in fourth, that's astronomical.
It's very good. It definitely is going to help their race strategy from here on out, because they're probably going to go a similar distance between now and the next time they pit if we continue to have cautions at the rate in which we've been having them. Of course, we know Smith has fresher tires than them, but it's nowhere near the same advantage. They had about 30, 40 lap fresher tires than Smith, and most of the field, when they came down pit road themselves, now it's closer to about 10 or so laps difference. So less of a difference, but you know, a little bit less evident, less showing, and it's going to take a little bit more patience and time for the 78 to be able to make this work, which is why I found it interesting they put it on the first caution after the 64 came down pit road. But I'm not behind the wheel this week, so I don't know. Maybe it'll work out for them. We're just going to have to see. We're still a third of the way through this race, so we still have a long ways to go tonight as the restart goes. You see a little bit of check up. Freeze did not get a good restart whatsoever. You see stacks up the inside line. It looks as though the 64 is going to settle into second. Sanchez settles into third, and Freeze is really holding up that inside lane as Alshire is going to go by on the outside.
It looked like Preece had the inside line on a chokehold. Nobody was able to get the advantage there on the jump. So Benson, who chose the outside line, chose correctly. And now here's Preece in a battle with Lance Hill. This is for the entrance to the top five. As Alishire's around, that's an extra hit from Colin Forrester. And the caution will wave once again, obviously for the crash. There's a look at Forrester, who slammed into his teammate and the 14 goes around for the second time. And I think Schaefer also got in it as well.
Very unfortunate, and I just got a glimpse of it as it started happening, and it was a situation like we saw earlier in the race with Schaefer in that same part of the racetrack. He goes into the corner, he charges hard, and the car slides. It slides the entire way. You're going to see on board with him. He's going to enter the corner, and right here, it's going to step out, and it's going to stay this way. He's dragging it, and it just goes around, and he's going to get hit right here by Colin Forster. You see right there, Warner, close call. Schaefer does get a little bit of a hit. Nothing astronomical there. He already has damage on his race car, so it's not going to exactly put much of a bigger dent into it. We're going to ride on board with Forster now, as his teammate is going to spin up in front of the field. He's side by side with another one, and there's him right there, and around he goes, and just nowhere to go. Hard hit to the front end of his race car. Most likely he's going to have to come down pit road for repair. So unfortunate for Stonks Motorsports. This has not been their day, Kenneth. We've talked about Stonks Motorsports repeatedly throughout the season, this year, last year, and they're always successful. They always manage to succeed, but I think this is probably the single most time in a race event in which we've seen the entire organization struggle in the way we have.
And usually when we talk about Stonks Motorsports, we talk a lot of positive race wins, championships, domination. It seems like as though they're perfect, but now it looks like we're seeing them. They're human after all. We're seeing this happen right now in New Hampshire. Just a lot of them having incidents, a lot of them finding themselves in trouble. And what it looked like there after Alishire had gone for the half spin, it looked like Forster was going to dive down low, but made the last-minute decision to go high because he was anticipating making some guesswork that Alishire was going to slide down the track, and Forster was probably thinking, okay, I could probably make a whole stick there, at least between the car of Alishire and the outside wall. Unfortunately, though, Alishire kind of stalled there where he was spinning, and that's where Forster had made the wrong decision in the last second and slammed into the side of the 14. And that's the first bit of damage we've seen Colin Forster get. Of course, Forster has been around the rear of the field in the mid-pack for a majority of tonight's race, a lot of times taking trips down pit road. That's why you don't see him up here as you would probably expect him to be. And he's been able to dodge a lot of the sketchiness in a lot of these cautions, but that time was able to unfortunately be involved. And I think we've got developments that Forster is now out of this race. And the same deal stands for Brian Smith. He just pulled it behind the wall. He's now out of this New Hampshire Motor Speedway race. So we've got two heavy hitters out of it. Smith not able to get a checkered flag this year tonight from New Hampshire. He'll have to wait in 1 week time to a track he's won at before, Indianapolis. It's not going to happen here in Loudon. Green flag back in the air. It's two Camaros on the front row, and it will be Kyle Benson, the first car to turn one.
It was a good restart by Benson, and unfortunate to have those guys retire from the race. They were really fast and they showed potential, but that's just going to dwindle the field more and more, Kenneth. And as we have more attrition, it's going to unlock the opportunity for somebody to make their mark in this one, as it's still relatively early on and there's still opportunity for someone to make a move, make a strategy play to put themselves further up in the field. Benson in the lead for what feels like one of the first couple times in this season. We haven't exactly seen him at the front ever since Daytona, so having this number 10 out front is going to do him really good, and he's looking in his rearview mirror, and he has that hard charging 64. And you just think back, Kenneth, these two, how many times have we seen this battle as you go back to classic seasons?
Of course, Benson and Healy, two drivers in the championship, 5 in season number 2. Back at Charlotte Motor Speedway, of course, Kyle Benson ended up into the tire barriers, and he could not complete a championship run that lasted all the way to that last race, and Healy was able to capitalize off of a walk-off win at Phoenix, and then ended up getting the championship at Charlotte. Now these two, 1-2 here, lap 60 of 150 here from New Hampshire. It seems as though the field relatively clean here. Only battle you see right now is further back in the lineup, and this is for about 8th on the racetrack. This is AJ Green. Underneath Cody Kinsey, that's Curtis Kelly, the Interstate Batteries Ford Mustang, slightly ahead. They're sort of side by side, and Craig Lumslugger now trying to duck his nose to the very bottom. So now we could potentially see Francisco first batch of green flag runs now that the field is starting to thin out. Of course, never say never, and the commentator's jinx is always alive and well, as Benson is now up to half a second in the lead.
The commentator's jinx is always lurking, waiting for us to say something, and then immediately try to make just that happen. So we'll wait a bit and see if we're able to get a long run and You know, a lot of the field has gone single file right now, and I think it's important for them to do so because we've seen a lot of cars step out on their own, and I think you have to sort of make sure you can handle driving the race car on the racetrack before you try racing somebody for position. So for the most part, we see just that being the case. You see a battle up in the top 5. It's the 55 of Sanchez trying to make a move on Hill. He's on the inside of that 38. 38 still carrying that damage from that incident early in the race. He's going to get loose, slide up the racetrack, and this time he's going to catch it. So good job for him to being able to save that one, but that's going to give the spot to the 55 of Joe Sanchez to move up the 55 up to 3rd. Peel is in that 5th spot. You see him further back there. These two were involved early on in a wreck. We'll see if Peel is able to make the move on the 38 of Hill. Remember, these two were battling for the win last week, and it's oh, you see how loose, and he's actually going to wreck. He's going to put the car into the wall. He's going to try and get to the low side and avoid an incident. Longslogger is going to go through the grass. He's going to slide. This is not going to be a pretty re-entry into turn 3. He's going to get hit. He's several cars involved. That's going to bring out the caution.
Again, yellow flag comes out. What happened there with the 13? 2 more cars are in it. That's Eric Schaefer in the 22. Looks like Adam Alashar got a hit check there in the final corner of New Hampshire. And after it looked like we had a breath of fresh air, we once again get polluted here. Caution flag will wave once more, lap 64 of 150. And it all started with Lawson Peel, who got loose. We were riding on board with him out of turn 2, was chasing the 38 of Lance Hill. Here's a look from Longslogger, who is further behind. Peel will start to stack up, and they'll start to spread out. Right about here, Peel's in trouble. Longslogger checks up and then immediately heads for the grass. And then you said it, Francisco, not a pretty sight when he merges back up the racetrack, and we knew it was going to get ugly.
Yeah, he locked up the tires, and when you lock it up in the grass, it's not going to turn, and it just ever so increases the turn angle. It's an interesting way to avoid the wreck. I assumed that he thought that this was going to be a caution, or that he was going to run into this driver, the 12 appeal. And you see right here, Schaefer almost has that miss, and it looked like he got hit by somebody to move him up the racetrack even more. Otherwise, Schaefer probably could have had that missed just for a brief second. You see right here, he's going to get hit by that car on the inside, and that may have pushed him up the track a little bit more. And that was Tony Kivitt that just barely clips the 13 of Longslogger. And going back to what caused Longslogger to go down in the grass, we saw him avoiding that wreck, that what would have been a wreck, or what he presumed was a wreck in the 12 of Peel. Unfortunately for him, goes through the grass, and I think he was trying to aim for the road course. It would have given him enough grip to at least use the brakes on the race car, maybe slow it down or do something different. I don't think he was trying to aim for the grass.
No, not necessarily on purpose, but at the same time, and also maybe you can make the case here that the 13 was expecting Lawson Peel to slide down the racetrack, and so Longslogger probably felt that that was the only chance he would have at getting around that wreck without directly being involved. But with Lawson Peel basically saving the car and keeping it wiggled, but in a relatively controlled area in that space, and then Longslogger was ultimately wrong in that case. I think you can put it in the same category as Forster's hit to Alashire in turns 3 and 4. They're just trying to play some guesswork. They don't know what's going to happen. They don't know whether their car is going to move down or up, where they're going to go at the end of the day. And then when they choose the decision, they're already too committed in it to change it at the last minute. And then Longslogger found himself on the grass and had no other option but to try and slow down and maybe reach for the apron by the time he emerged back. But because the front tires had locked up, had no grip, could not steer the Toyota Camry whatsoever on the racetrack. I'm too used to saying Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. I'm too busy covering trucks right now. But nonetheless, Longslogger involved in the incident, so we'll be under yellow once more. Now we've got a 3rd DNF on the blocks. We got one car more than one lap down. That is Tony Kivitt in the 76, who was involved in that. He is on pit road currently. Colin Forster, Brian Smith, of course, he mentioned them DNFing, but Mark Harris has also taken a trip to the garage. He is out of it officially. There's Lawson Peel. Picked up the damage from that almost self-spin, and he's now back out onto the track, I think, just before he gets lapped by the field. And we'll get the 1 to green signal. So now we've got a fight between Joe Sanchez and Scott Healy. It appears that Kyle Benson had taken a trip to pit road, and there he is back in 11th. So another strategy call there by the Murray Beauty Motorsports cars, and we have the 64 and the 55 out front this time.
Put that Oreo machine out front, and I think at this pace, Kenneth, I may as well go get to the fridge and grab a bottle of milk, pour it into a glass and get some Oreos. I think we're going to be here for a little bit longer. I want to have a snack. You?
I think I'll find my way there too. Maybe I'll go with whatever other
Double
food
stuff?
item is on a car tonight. Not interstate batteries. Maybe Wawa. Maybe the Cody.
I don't think that's healthy.
Get help. No, interstate batteries. You should not eat that. Whatever. Do not try that at all. That is very dangerous. Green flag back in the air once again. The Oreo car shifts up to the front. It was already up by more than 0.2 of a second. Back to turn 1. Jesse Priest will try to hang on the outside here with Lance Hill. Joe Sanchez will hold on to second. Field will fan out. I think there was almost a crash in the rear of the field. Cody Kinsey, Tyler Murray in trouble.
Something's going on back here. These guys are not up to full speed. You see a spin
Kyle Benson
down on the
is around.
inside of the racetrack. Yes, Benson around on the inside of the racetrack. I was able to notice that just there on the last bit of the frame, and something was off about that restart the second we went. We saw the front half of the field was fine, and then everybody else was just going slow, like continuously. It wasn't for a brief second. They were just continuously moving slow. So something happened entering turn 1, and it caused these guys to go really slow. So we're going to see Benson here. He restarts further back. You see a little bit of a checkup, but all is fine. And I think it happens once you get into turn 1. And as we do so right here, you see Murray goes in and he gets into the back of Kinsey. Kinsey's going to spin in front of everybody. They all slow down. Kinsey gets into Murray. They save it. That explains that. But now off the corner, he's going to get right into the side.
On Ivy.
Right into the side of Ivy, and around he goes. Fortunately, doesn't hit the wall, but that was pretty hard contact door to door with the 81. And I'm not sure he knew he was to his outside. It looked like he thought he could go right up there. I mean, look how close he was to hitting the wall anyways. Probably rode the outside all the way out there, and the 10, unfortunately, probably didn't think he was up there. It looked like they had that saved, and honestly, with the way they all saved that and got really spread out, we probably could have had a long run. Unfortunately, we don't.
So it's a tough shot there for the 10 of Benson, who was just trying to pick himself back up again. He had been that sole driver to come on to pit road for strategy, and now he's joining the group of drivers tonight. We're coming down to pit road, not for strategy, but for damage repairs. So, once again, caution will come out here. Lap 70 at 150. We are pretty much almost at the halfway mark here tonight for the virtual New Hampshire Motor Speedway. And just a reference, a couple of seasons back when we came to this track, we had a longer race. Of course, tonight's 150 lapper, but we had 202 laps completed a couple of seasons ago. It was a 200-lap race. Of course, that ended up into green-white checkered territory. And that's where Nicholas Vizzuti was able to hang on. One of the dominating cars. That race led 69 laps out of the 202. Pretty nice for Vizzuti to end up in victory lane at that time. But unfortunately, he's not here to end up defending that success. And I guess we'll bring up the point. We talked about this at length, Francisco, at Pocono, because Joby Ray, he was the defending winner at the time. He didn't show up to the race, so that opened pretty much everything up for anyone to step into victory lane and become a brand new winner at a different track. And New Hampshire will be the case. Season 3, of course, nobody went to New Hampshire, was not part of the schedule. Now bring it back here for Season 4. Vizuti's not in competition tonight, so any one of these guys could pick up, obviously, their first win in 4 Wide Cup history, or their second, third, or whatever count they have, but they'll be a brand new winner at this New Hampshire Motor Speedway, so there's that.
That's very much true. We're going to have somebody that's going to get their first win of the season, and you know, it's refreshing when you're able to get someone winning for the first time in the season, especially as you move towards the middle portion and late portion of the season, because usually the guys who will likely have a win throughout the season already got them, so they start to repeat, and not that it becomes dull, but you already know what to expect. So when you still have a situation where you can have guys that you don't know if they're going to win or when they'll win, it is refreshing to see. I think an example of that is with the Cup Series this season. We have 7 races with 7 different winners, and there's still some heavy names that have not gone to victory lane. Ones that come to the top of the head: Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano. A lot of guys that you think are going to be winning almost every single week that have not gone to victory lane yet, and it's very crucial. And that's how you end up in a situation like here in 4 Wide, where you have several guys with wins that could easily be championship contenders, because you just don't know, and that makes it interesting for us.
Definitely does make it interesting. And also to note, drivers at the front row, they haven't won a race this season. Scott Healy is yet to reach victory lane in the Cup Series. It's been a long time. Same deal for Joe Sanchez. He has yet to get a win this campaign. The only repeat winner this season has been Lawson Peel in the 12. So we'll see if anybody can break the Curse maybe get a second win in the campaign, but we're back under green. And Scott Healy leads the field to turn 1. Lance Hill with a monstrous restart on the outside is able to hang tough with the 55, and we're door to door for second.
Correction there, Kenneth. Remember, Lance Hill won last week, so he's trying to go 2 in a row.
Indeed he is. I said break the curse, and Hill's going to try to do that now to the outside of the 55. He'll stay up there on the 2 to 7 degrees of banking. It looks like Healy lost the car. They're almost 3 wide, and Joe Sanchez will go underneath for the lead.
The 64 is going to try and hold it to his outside side drafts a little bit. Oh, crash at the back. Schaefer into the wall.
Schaefer into the inside wall. Will that throw a yellow? Answer is no. We stay green at lap 74. And now we get the yellow.
And now the caution's out. Oh, that was late.
So a late yellow thrown here by the officials of iRacing, and Joe Sanchez will nose ahead, and he will take the lead away from what seemed to be a forever lead for the 64 of Scott Healy. Sanchez in control as Schaefer goes around, collects a couple of cars with him, and one of them is Lawson Peel in the 12. It looks like he cannot escape any of the disaster tonight from New Hampshire. When it feels like he's got something rolling, when it feels like he's got the car repaired enough to the fact that he can at least be competitive before using the fast repair. And now it looks like the universe is telling him to use it, because he's again with no front clip on the Camaro.
I think it's still the opposite. I think if you're still getting involved in these situations, you should be thanking your stars you haven't used the fast repair, because you still have the safety valve. So you see right there, contact with the other cars. It looked like the 14, and actually Benson spun around as well once more. So we're going to go a little bit further back. See right there, Alshire making contact with Schaefer. Schaefer gets spun towards the inside, has nowhere to go, the 12 appeal does. And then it looks as though Murray gets into his teammate of Kyle Benson here, trying to avoid the crash. We're going to be on board here. Benson checks up, and Murray just right into him, sending his teammate spinning into the wall. So unfortunate for Benson to get involved in that. For both of them, really, that's not what teammates exactly look forward in doing when they show up to these kind of races. They hope to be working together and trying to capture wins, not exactly doing that. But just like that, Kenneth, we are at the halfway point of the race, and it's only taken us just over an hour.
It's taken a while. There's Eric Schaefer coming on a pit road. He overshoots it by just a hair. Kyle Benson, it looks like he's actually pulled the trigger on the fast repair, so his car completely clean. He'll come out of pit road rather quickly. It looks like Michael Newbraw will follow suit behind him, and then the other 4 right here, Murray, Preece, Peel, and Schaefer, all taking time on their pit stalls just to make sure they can try to knock off whatever optional or required damage they have left to repair. And so we again are under caution here tonight at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. So with Sanchez in the race lead, he becomes, of course, a new lead change here. It looked like Healy was going to have the lead and was going to remain with it. With that last charge on that restart by Joe Sanchez and that mess up there out of turn 4 by Healy, it shows that Healy is still human after all, and Sanchez took opportunity. He took the chance there, was able to dive to the bottom as Hill backed out of a potential 3-wide scenario for the lead. And now the 55 in control of the pace of this race. And Francisco, I mean, it's been rough. I mean, even mentally for the drivers up front who have yet to find themselves in a crash. Fortunately, so they haven't been involved in the mayhem tonight. But still, just mentally tolling on a driver here when you're just stop and go, stop and go, stop and go. You want to race, you want to compete for the win, but it's just hard to do so when drivers end up in problems with these next-gen cars tonight at New Hampshire. And I think it's just been tough on everybody overall in the field.
It's tough when you're in a race like this where you have a lot of cautions and you're just going behind the pace car. It makes you feel like you're on a road trip versus trying to race. And, you know, at least right now with Sanchez being in the lead, he won't mind as much as maybe he was when he wasn't leading the race. But either way, nobody likes sitting behind the pace car this much during a race. And, you know, and these guys, they'll be talking to each other in the race chat. They'll be talking about how to try to make things better. But the irony of the situation is that it is not working, and it almost never does for that matter. And you try to discuss things, and, you know, you guys are racers. You say, maybe let's take it easy. But, you know, racers sometimes don't want to take things easy. They want to be able to take positions, gain some spots, and, you know, naturally selfish in the way that they should be. But it's just not helpful in this particular situation in today's race, and that's why we're seeing the amount of cautions that we are. So we're half a lap away from the green flag. It's the first time we're going to have the 55 in charge. And do remember, he does have one career win. It came at Talladega in the playoffs last season. He was a non-playoff driver, but he has no regular racetrack wins. He has just the super speedway win, no wins on any other types of racetracks. So he's trying to look for a non-super speedway win, which will be crucial for bragging rights and to try and make a push for the Cup Series playoffs. We've seen him be a contender over at the ARCA Series, and he's been racing Cup for a while now, but has never made a playoff push. This might be his first opportunity to show what he's made of in the Cup Series, in the playoffs, and to do that, he's got to do it now. Green flag is out, and he gets a really good launch. He's going to be clear before turn 1. We'll see if he goes down to the inside to defend. Haley's going to settle into second. Hill's going to be side by side with his teammate for that third spot.
It's been the story of the leader every restart here tonight from New Hampshire. They get a great run into turn 1, and Sanchez is able to hold control of the race lead. Lance Hill almost found a way underneath Scott Healy for a moment for second, but he's going to drift up to 7 degrees of banking, and now here comes his teammate AJ Green to slide underneath, and Hill knows ahead, at least for the moment, on Hill, and will take over third as Curtis Kelly now charges underneath the 13. That's Craig Launslager.
They're starting to work their way back up. Some of these Stunts Motorsports guys are, and it goes back to the attrition we were talking about. Several guys have left this race or had damage that has taken them out, and they've decided to put it behind the wall and not drive what Kyle Busch would normally say he wouldn't drive, but I'm not going to repeat on the air. But you see right now Kelly up to the inside of AJ Green trying to take that spot, and that's not exactly going to work out. We know the outside is definitely the preferable line, so I'm going to give that spot up. And, you know, right now, Kenneth, we have 17 cars on the lead lap and 17 cars still running. Tony Kivitt, first one out, 14 laps down in the race right now. So we're down into the team number of race cars, and yet we're still having issues with trying to keep things pointed in the right direction. So far, so good. But you can't help but feel that in a couple laps we're going to see something happen that's going to allow this race to get put back under the yellow flag. You saw a little bit of a slip up there from Joe Sanchez, but nothing too crazy. He's going to keep the lead over Scott Healy by about 3 car lengths.
He locked up the brakes by just a hair in the apex of the corner, slid up the banking, but he's okay. He's going to lose a little bit of the gap there to the 64, but he remained fine for the most part. And you'll stay in the race lead. The caution flag will wave once again. And it looks to be Cody Ivey involved. He's tucked up to the outside wall. That's turn 1.
You just couldn't help but feel that it was going to happen. And it looks as though it happened going into turn 1. Looks like it was a misjudgment between him and Eric Schaefer. Schaefer did not expect him to brake this early for turn 1. You're going to see he goes right into his left rear. Hard into the outside wall goes the 81. Schaefer, of course, was also spinning down the racetrack, able to keep that pointed in the right direction, but just a missed timing. I don't think he anticipated the other one to check up that early.
Right on board here, the rear end of the Ford Mustang. Cody Ivey dives. He'll brake a little bit early. Schaefer doesn't anticipate and drives right into him. And the 81 goes for a spin and tags the outside wall about once, twice, 3 times before eventually getting it back settled. There's Tony Kivitt, who slightly went around. I think Kivitt had pulled it behind the garage for a little bit, is now back in this race. As the 81 of Ivy goes for a spin, he is 17th. He is still not 1 lap down on the track, so that is good news for him. But obviously, I mean, it hasn't been good news for many drivers here tonight, just casually being involved in the incidents and continuously having the yellows thrown tonight hasn't been easy on any of the drivers whatsoever. So it'll bunch the field once more. We had a great battle brewing for about 4th on back. AJ Green was leading a tight pack of cars, including Craig Launslager, Curtis Kelly, Tyler Warner, and Launslager Warner among the drivers to finish in the top 5 last time we came to this New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Warner finished 2nd on that green-white checkered attempt. Launslager ended up finishing just inside the top 5. And so all of them right now just biding their time, gonna wait for the yellow to end up back to green, and no strategy calls right now for the moment. So it seems to be very calm, but the storm has been brewing all night long here for the northeast of the United States. Joe Sanchez in the race lead. Under caution here, lap 84 of 150, just under 70 laps to go here at the racetrack. We'll take a moment to step aside, but you won't miss a thing here as we continue our coverage of round 9 of the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series right here on MaxSpeedTV.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
We've been waiting for this moment. Generations of innovation all coming together in one place. A pedigree of more than 70 years of NASCAR Cup Series history, from the past to the present, from Petty to Earnhardt to Elliott. Today, there's no more waiting. The future of NASCAR is now. Drive the next-gen cars today on iRacing and step into the next generation of racing.
Welcome back to the virtual New Hampshire Motor Speedway for round 9 of the 2022 Ford Wide Racing Cup Series. Under caution, once again, lap 91 of 150. Of course, thank you for joining us here on MaxSpeedTV. Kenneth Bueno, Francisco Bacallao, along with you for the ride. Caution is on behalf of Adam Alishar, the 14 there. You see him on pit road, but he went for a spin out of turn 2. We saw some great battles for second on back. But of course, we were anticipating possibly another caution, and Francisco will walk us through what happens here out of turn 2.
You see it right here going into 1. Alishar is still carrying damage from earlier incidents, so he's not at 100%, and he's going to straddle right there what we talked about, that flat part of the racetrack. Oh, look at that! Just a close call there for, I believe that was Michael Newbrough, and indeed it is. So a close call there, just trying to avoid it. But the main issue with Alishar, what happened there was he straddled that flat part of the racetrack that we talked about that has negative banking on it, and he straddled it enough in a wrong way, and it's going to cause the car to spin exactly how we saw it happen to the 14. And that's caught out some drivers. He's just the latest victim in doing so, and Unfortunately, he caught the 6 in it, so I'm sure Michael Newbraw and several other of these guys, once they're done with this race tonight, they might go towards that number 6 hauler and request some Bud Lights.
There you look at the drive off of pit road. Lance Hill among the drivers in. AJ Green, Curtis Kelly, Craig Lautenslager. There's Eric Schaefer. And you can take a view at the 14 and the 6, the two involved in that last caution. Alishire and Newbraw, along with Kinsey, who's the third car in there. There's a look at Schaefer coming out of pit road. Now officially with minimal to no damage. I believe he's picked up the faster pair on his car, so he's already relinquished that, and he'll be back on the racetrack here, although he will lose a myriad of track positions. So we saw a great battle for second between Scott Healy and AJ Green. Of course, AJ Green had just come into pit road, so he's going to lose the position here up at the front of the field. But Scott Healy, first time we've seen him really in a battle all race long, apart from that one with Joe Sanchez. And now you got to figure, Francisco, for Scott Healy, you kind of felt comfortable leading a majority of this race. And now you're out of it. You're just short P2. And we're closing in on the final 50 laps here from New Hampshire. That doesn't go by very slowly unless you've got a lot of yellows. But how do you attack this if you're the Oreo car?
Well, I think the best tactic he's got is he opens up a bottle of milk and he sprays it all over the racetrack, makes them all slip and slide.
You think he's going to hustle it?
Yeah, I think this is going to turn into Mario Kart. They're going to get power-ups and just try and eliminate each other one way or another. I mean, it hasn't been too far different from that.
I mean, this is the Magic Mile, so I'm not gonna say anything is certain here. But if there's anything that we've taken note of here tonight, is that if you hustle the car a little bit too much, you're gonna get punished severely with these next-gen cars. And so far, Healy has had a couple of slip-ups. Same deal with that 55, but they've been the drivers to either minimize them or cover them up as best as possible. And they haven't had the largest slip-ups or really tears off of their sheet. So they've been able to continue up in the front and man the field as we will double them up once again on a restart. This would be a lap 95 of 150. Of course, still a long way to go. Telemetry tells us if we stay green from here on out. Not sure if we will. We'll go another half hour here on time. So we may end up at 11 o'clock Eastern time. Firstly, thank you so much, everybody who's in the YouTube chat, everybody who's watching on the stream on MaxSpeedTV, giving us the support. No, it's been a long race, but we'll try to hustle through the end of it and be the juggernaut by the checkered flag tonight. We've seen a lot of good stuff. We just haven't been able to see a long green flag run materialize. Maybe it happens here, but maybe not. We'll find out. Joe Sanchez and Scott Healy, the first two drivers on the front row, and then it's Jesse Prees and Kyle Benson, third and fourth, to give support. Pace car will make the left back down to pit road. He's worked overtime tonight. And Joe Sanchez will go up to the gears on his discretion. We're back under green from Loudon.
Under the green flag once more. Healy clears for second. How about Jesse Prees up there? It looks like he's trying to battle for a top 3 spot, Kenneth, and he's actually going to slide up. He's going to give way to Lieutenant Benson, who I believe has some newer tires in the top 2, so we'll see if he's going to try and pounce on them to make up some positions. Go front left on that race car, and he's trying to get into the top 5.
And Peel has a battered Camaro, but he's working his way to the bottom on Tyler Murray. Cody Ivey slides him into the inside wall. We'll see if he's okay. Caution flag will not wave this time by. They're about 3 wide around the midfield. And there's Peel still under Murray as the top 3 have closed in on each other. And there's Peel going around. Peel going around by his lonesome. Will the caution flag wave? Answer is yes. Once again, peril for the 12. There's a look at the multi-time winner here in this season. And it doesn't look like the win will happen here in New Hampshire. It has been a rough evening for this 12. And once again, ends up in a crash, or at least a spin. That brings us under caution once again. We'll try to figure out what happened there.
I think it's the same thing we saw earlier. I think probably straddles that part of the racetrack that goes flat. We're going to get a good look at it here. There you see what happened to Ivy further back. He was able to keep it pointed in the right direction. But watching this here, he's going to go through one. He's trying to run the bottom. Right there, he's going to turn down, clips that flat part, and precisely what I was talking about. He's going to clip the flat part while trying to go full throttle. You can't do that. You just can't.
And it seems as though that has arisen quite recently here in this race. The fact that drivers are stepping down to that part where there's pretty much zero banking, because apart from some of the little banking here in New Hampshire that's in the apex of the corner a little bit higher up on the surface. So And the 12 getting a bit of that transition, and it is nasty when you get there at the wrong place, wrong time, especially when you're on corner exit, trying to get out of the corner, pushing in the throttle. And that's ultimately what ended up in Lawson Peel's demise there. Coming out of turn 2, he ends up with a spin, and we will be under the yellow flag once more. So there's a look at the 12 on pit road. Sanchez still holding on to the lead, and it's been like this the entire race so far. But as we've been focusing on the present, why don't we take a look at the future? Why don't we take a look back at our schedule graphic? There it is on the front of your screen. What we'll be seeing for the rest of Season 4. And the next 2 racetracks, Francisco. One, a previous entry into the series, a previous track that we've seen countless times before. And then there's Circuit of the Americas, the brand new racetrack that these drivers will face in 2022. Indy, of course, we've had great strategy races and overall great events there at the Brickyard. And then you have to step 2 weeks after that to go into the unknown in Texas. And it's going to be a lot of fun, Francisco, because we've got Indianapolis, big track, Coda, big track road course, and then Bristol Night, short track, where the tensions may boil higher than anything we've seen before.
Yeah, the size of the racetracks just changed dramatically between now and Bristol. We go from this mile racetrack to 2.5 miles of Indianapolis to 3.4 miles at Coda, and then down to half a mile at Bristol. It's going to be an insane couple of weeks coming up. Of course, there's an off week in there, I believe, after Indianapolis next week, so there's going to be a little bit of time off that these guys will have to hopefully practice at Bristol, so we don't have quite a race like this. In hopes of that, we know Coda is going to be green flag because of the road racing rules. I think Indianapolis should be an interesting one. With the way the cars are, they're going to be fast down the straightaways, much like what we saw at Michigan. But like we saw at Pocono in turn 2, the cars are really going to have to check up, and I think they're going to be under control for the most part. But I think it's going to provide a new passing opportunity. We didn't see much passing with the Gen 6. It was very hard to do so. Nothing wrong with the car necessarily. Just you're going so fast in the corners, and you don't have that much acceleration on the straightaways to really mount a move going into turn 1. You just didn't have enough time to make up the gaps, whatever the gap may have been. So I think with this new car, you're going to have enough acceleration, enough draft, enough speed advantage to where you get a good enough exit, you'll have the momentum going into turn 1. You'll have enough of the braking action to where you might be able to pull ahead or make a move going into one of those 2 straightaways at the very least, because beforehand, you just had to rely on draft and pushes, but now I think you can actually pull alongside and make that move. But it's going to be interesting. But before we get to Indianapolis next week, we have to still settle 51 laps of New Hampshire.
We still got to get to this track before we get to the Brickyard in 1 week time. And of course, you've got to get individual practice in if you're a driver in this series, because last time iRacing Official went to Indy, it was at the 550 8-inch spoiler package. So it's a very different car, a very different feel, very different dynamic. We'll figure all of the answers to those questions next week. But for now, still a lot to figure out from New Hampshire. No Sanchez, though, the only answer to our question of who's in the race lead, immediately takes it over back on the restart of lap 101. Scott Healy diving and sliding in front of the 00 Jesse Prees, and he'll be able to hold on a second.
Into the second spot he goes. Prees into third. A really good outing from him right now amidst all the chaos. But Benson's going to try and see if he can spoil the party. He's going to roll up to the outside, a big run in the center of the corner. He's going to have to check up, though, so he's not going to stay outside. That's going to allow Priest to settle into the third. Benson's going to have a little bit of run. He's going to look to the bottom now. He's going to try and dial one up. He's going to send it to the inside. He's going to be side by side with Priest. Priest moves up to give him all the room in the world. You see Benson could have turned down, but chose not to as the caution flag is out. Looks like we have Kinsey around in the back.
Kinsey may have gone for a slight 360 there on the racetrack, and the caution will wave once again. It's been the trend the entire race as we close in on 48 laps to go. So we'll find out what happened to the bright yellow Jegs car side by side, and actually 3 wide. It's Curtis Kelly in the middle, Lounsloger in the bottom, and I think Lance Hill may have given him a shot a little bit, but it was the contact with the 13 of Lounsloger that ultimately sent Kinsey sideways. And usually in race control, if they had an in-person admin there, they probably wouldn't call that a yellow just because he saved the race car. But because iRacing is in control of the cautions thrown here tonight at New Hampshire, even if you're remotely sideways, even if you save it, and even if nobody else gets involved, it's yellow and it slows the field down.
Yeah, you see Kinsey and a couple other cars also trying to take avoiding action. And this really plays into the mentality part of these drivers, Kenneth. As like I said earlier, when this becomes the focal point of the race, when you realize that the race is going to have this sort of setting and tone to it, it does become difficult. And at this point, this is where the fatigue and the focus factor starts to show through, because it's easy to lose focus in a situation like this. And actually, look there, Scott Healy came down pit road, Jesse Freeze, Kyle Benson, they all decided to come down pit road. Remember, we've only seen Healy on pit road once. We saw him pit around lap 40. He's going to come back in once again. This should put him good to go to the end of the race, around 46 laps, 47 laps or so. So he should be good to go on fuel, and I think he's anticipating more caution flags. That's why he's not waiting to the very end. And you see he's actually going to get passed by these guys, maybe an unforced error on pit road by speeding. Not going to lose too much positions in terms of where he would have been had he stayed normal, but definitely a penalty of some sorts on pit road because he's still in a stall.
And hopefully he doesn't go a lap down, because that will take one of the biggest drivers here out of this race at this point in time. And Healy going to try to recoup as there's the field coming out of turn 4. And as we watch back all the way to the 64 of Healy, now is when he fires it off out of pit road to the pit road exit, and he'll be okay. So he'll stay on the lead lap, but he would just be lodged back in 15th. So that will also make things a little bit harder on his end. So that is also something we kind of forgot to talk about, Francisco, the strategy on this call. And Healy, of course, so along with Benson, Preece, and a couple others, they're just trying to top off for the end of this race. And these guys up at the front may have to start thinking about that, especially if the yellows come out, and then they're forced to put the thinking cap on. Have to wonder, all right, when do I come down? Is this smart to go now? Do I go in with a group? Do I go by myself? Is it worth losing all this track position? And you couple it with the fatigue, Francisco, of just going constant yellow flags over and over and over again. And I think it could result in very large brain fog, and you don't really know what the answer to anything is.
Yeah, that's pretty much the case, Kenneth. It's tough on everyone. It's tough on everyone in a situation like this. And you continue with the split strategies, to get on that for just a second. So Healy came down pit road just now, and we're going to probably go green with 44 to go. He's going to be good to go on the fuel. We talked about the tires and the situation and all that. So I think what he's hoping for is he either makes up the track position on his own, or these guys eventually come back down pit road, in which they have to. But when they do is going to matter. We saw Smith come down not too long after Healy, and that didn't work out too well for him and his strategy. So we'll see if Sanchez tries a different approach to where maybe he can drag more cars into pit road and make it more of an advantageous situation for him and trying to make a play for the win. But right now, he stays out on the racetrack. He's going to have AJ Green to his inside. Lance Hill's going to be behind him. And we're going to have some players up in the front of the field that we haven't seen before.
So there's AJ Green in second. Joe Sanchez will command the restart. But the highest we've seen AJ Green is right now, P2. We haven't seen him close in on the race lead. We haven't seen him take the race lead tonight. Maybe it's a chance for the defending champion to overcome all the obstacles this evening and be able to surge ahead of the 55. But he's going to have to play some guesswork on where Sanchez is going to go. He'll wait for a moment until finally hopping on to 100% on the gas pedal. Green flag back in the air. Teammates are set to duel back to turn 1. That's Lance Hill on the outside of the 48.
They're going to be battling for that second spot. Green trying to edge through on the bottom. He's going to edge ahead, and he's going to clear Lance Hill. So good job by him to use the inside to get clear of Lance Hill. And it looks as though behind Hill, Schaefer has worked his way back up into the top 5. Oh, hard overcorrect for Hill. He's going to get hit. Oh, actually, no, he does not get hit by Kinsey. But a very mysterious crash, and actually another car crashing there off of turn 4.
Another hit, it appears to be Kyle Benson. There's Scott Healy around near the rear of the field. We worried about it, at least for a little bit, losing all the track position along with the speeding penalty. And that is the first time we see the Oreo car cracked open as Scott Healy suffers damage on both the front and rear end of his race car. But it was Lance Hill who started it all in turn 3, lost it by himself, overcorrected the car. Similar case to Eric Schaefer a little bit earlier on in this event. You see him here just behind AJ Green. Will send it deep into turn 3. This is when the car hops out of shape, and then the whip around.
You can't really blame him there, too. I mean, you're looking at that on board, and the car is so far sideways. You think this can't possibly turn to the right, and yet it does. And see right here, it looks as though
Benson.
Oh, Benson, right there. Something happened with Benson, and into the 64 he goes. Not sure there. We'll see on board with Benson now. See exactly what occurred. It looked like as though it was trying to avoid the crash. We saw Freeze turning down and Kinsey having his moment up there as well. So they're 3 wide in front. Benson gets on the flat. Oh, that's what happens. He gets on the flat, has an issue, and tries to keep it straight. And Healy, wrong place at the wrong time. Very bad situation for him.
So unfortunate there as Healy now comes out of pit road, and just to know, he did burn off the fast repair. Same deal for the likes of Lance Hill, Kyle Benson. They've already used their fast repair tonight. There's Hill finally getting the fast repair out of his hands. He's got a clean Chevrolet Camaro after suffering damage from that first crash on the back straightaway out of turn 2. Kyle Benson, he had used his fast repair a little bit earlier, but now he's got some more damage on his car, so it's going to make things a little bit worse. And now, speaking of drivers who lose track position off of pit road calls, Joe Sanchez pitted that last time by along with everybody 12th on back, and that gives the lead to AJ Green.
AJ Green is going to be at the front of the field. He's persisting through this race. We saw him involved in that crash early on in the race with his teammates. He's just continued on, just trying to methodically stay in this. And we talked about the attrition we're seeing here tonight. He's continuing to ratchet up. If this keeps up, Ken, we're going to probably get not just a first-time winner of the season, but probably a first-time league winner. That's still very much something that can happen. I mean, look at your third-place runner. It is CJ Munier.
CJ Munier, what a drive it's been from him, and he's dodged a lot, but he's also been involved in some too, so it's been a fair balance for the 89 of Munier, who started back in 15 tonight, started pretty deep in the field, but now he's got a shot with about 40 laps to go here tonight for the virtual New Hampshire Motor Speedway to get things done. He's got a couple of cars to get around. And also to note, last time we visited a short track was Richmond Raceway, and guess who was the winner of that? AJ Green, after stealing it away from Colin Forster's hands on the last green-white checkered restart when the caution waved. Tony Kibbett had spun out of turn 2. Green edged ahead at the timing loop, and Green was assessed the winner. That was the first time we saw an ARCA winner get to victory lane on the Cup side in the same week. AJ Green is going to try to be the second repeat winner this season, following a loss in Peels tracks. And Eric Schaefer on the inside of him going to try to do the same as Curtis Kelly, CJ Munier, and a handful of others in the top 5 are still looking for their very first. So what a bout it's been from New Hampshire. We've seen many changes in position. We've seen a lot of drivers come and go. We've seen crashes, many of them. We'll see if it all culminates into a fantastic finish here for the Magic Mile. We'll go back to Green Flag Racing, a lap 112 of 150, just shy of 48 laps to go. 38 laps to go, rather. 48, though. AJ Green will hop onto the gas pedal on the outside lane. He'll leave Eric Schaefer in the dust. They're side by side for second. Green back to turn 1 with the lead.
He has a good, sizable enough lead, but Schaefer's going to really squeeze it there to try and get it up into second place here. Your pole sitter, who's been up and down again, he's back up into second place, trying to make a move. You see a car all the way down to the apron almost. They're trying to go 3 and 4 wide further back in the field. Clearly not learning from what has happened so far in this race, but so far, at least in the front of the field, is good. You see Curtis Kelly's now moved up into third. Munier's down to 5th. He's getting challenged a little bit further back there. You see Murray now going for the move on Lawson Peel, I believe that is. They're going to be side by side in 1 and 2. Murray slides up a little bit, but they're going to remain door to door here, coming off the corner, almost contact those two. And there you see Lawnslugger, he's trying to make it 3 wide.
Lawnslugger will dive to the bottom. He'll make it 3. Cody Kinsey on the outside, but Lawnslugger will immediately back out of that. He'll keep it side by side for the moment. Now 3 wide as Kinsey goes to the outside, and he goes sideways. Warner up in front in trouble. Big crash on the front straightaway.
And Healy's involved again, and he's got more damage to his race car. Oh, and up and over goes the 33.
Tyler Warner on his roof. He'll land back on all 4s, and this is the big one from New Hampshire. As Warner got sideways, Kinsey was in a synchronized half spin, and then everybody piled in at the same time.
And I think the most notable driver to be involved in that, as I mentioned, Scott Healy, he has significant rear end damage to his race car. And there was 2 incidents that happened. This happened towards the front. This was up in third. Just gets loose on that transition and he saves it, but kind of drifts back up the track into traffic. And you see several cars involved. You see Healy alt F4 immediately after that, knowing that his chances to win were over. We're going to ride on board here with Joe Sanchez. He has a good view of what exactly is going to happen here. You see this all going to unfold. There you see Kinsey spinning. There you see the other incident. And boom, just nowhere to go for Joe Sanchez after just coming down pit road. And right there, just a little bit of a glitch hit in a way, but it's going to force the 33 to do a slow barrel roll, kind of reminiscent of Daytona in 2014 when Kyle Busch had a very slow rollover.
Well, have you ever seen a flip in New Hampshire? Because I don't think I have.
Oh,
I think that's
I haven't.
the first time I've seen a car go up and over at New Hampshire in the sim, and even in real life. It's never happened in real life, I don't believe.
I mean, we've seen so many cars go upside down at Bristol in one single race. I think that probably should not lead us to be surprised that this has happened at least once.
Well, nonetheless, Warner goes up and over, and then we'll look at the 2 drivers who had spent a good amount of this time up at the front of the field. Of course, Scott Healy, he's now pulled behind the wall. He's out of this race. Joe Sanchez is still in it. He's 8th. But obviously, with damage picked up from that incident, luckily he did have the fast repair, so I believe he's already burned it. He's got a clean race car here for the end, so don't count out the 55 just yet. He's got a very quick Chevrolet Camaro tonight. But ultimately, both of them who made calls to pit lost all the track position, and that's where they ended up in a caution out of turn 4, the big one here in round number 9. So AJ Green will hold on to the lead, and of course, not many changes through the top 5, Francisco, so not a lot we can say about these guys up at the front. It's just been a lot of the drivers near the midfield or the very rear to get collected. We tried to push the point of attrition, how that was going to end up in a clean race. We got a lot of drivers out of this, about now 16 cars left in this fight, and we have yet to see anything calm down.
No, it is not calming down. I don't think it's going to anyways. At this point, you're definitely not going to see things calm down. We're nearing the end of the race. Everybody is going to most definitely feel they have an opportunity to win. Given the attrition factor, they're saying, well, if this keeps up, maybe I have a chance to win, and that's what's going through everybody's mind. So if everybody thinks they have a chance to win, that's probably very dangerous. So we're going to see things ratchet up, continuing to spike, add more intensity. There you see Longslugger probably restarting at the very back, so he has to let all these guys go through. So when you look at the front of the field, Kenneth, on your front row, those 2 have won this season. You also look in that second row, and you see that 38, or excuse me, the third row, and you see the 38, or fourth row, I'm sorry, he's in the 4th row. Those are the guys who have won this season. Everybody else has not won a race this season, and I think when you put that into perspective, that it's very likely we're going to get a first-time winner this season, and there's still an opportunity to get a first-time 4-wide Cup Series winner. A good example of that is Curtis Kelly and CJ Munier in that second row. Neither of those 2 have gotten a victory lane here in 4-wide racing. But how about Tyler Murray? He's on a long winless streak, has not won in a long time. He wants to try and end that winless streak. Can today be the day?
We'll find out. Murray's last victory was at Daytona International Speedway. Green flag back in the air. It's AJ Green up and away. They stack up the inside line significantly. Kelly in the middle of all that. Murray on the outside of the sandwich, and Schaefer dove it deep into turn 1. No success against your race leader, and they're side by side for 4th.
And you see Curtis Kelly trying to just get in front of the 89 of CJ Munier, and he's able to do so. Move him up to 3rd, and Munier with a little bit of a moment drifting up, allowing the inside open there to allow a move to be made by the 8 of Murray. They're now going to be side by side off the turn 4, so Tyler Murray trying to move up another spot. There you see Joe Sanchez already trying to go back up there, use the fast repair he had available, and he's trying to find his way up, and there Murray's going to spin on the apron.
Murray's going to go around in front of the field. Will he catch anybody with him? Answer is
I think
no.
so.
All by himself, right in front of the Sylvania sign. And Murray goes around once again, caution out with just about 30 laps to go.
At some point, they're going to have to stop running down there. They should know by now that if you run down on that flat, it is just going to spin the cars out. It's not like the Gen 6 where you can you can use the side force to get out of it. You see, as soon as these guys go on there, and actually Kinsey is involved as well. You see right there. As soon as you get on the flat, the cars are just going around. I think at some point you have to stop running down there if this is the end result.
So I stand corrected here. Kinsey, the second car in it, not a solo car incident per se, although Murray is really the only one to go around for sure. Kinsey goes sideways off of a shot from Kyle Benson. Benson loses the front clip. Remember, we mentioned his car had a faster pair assessed to it earlier on tonight, and he's got no choice now but to just repair it off the pit road. It's been rough for not only Benson, but for many drivers in tonight's race. And many drivers on teams, usually, well, we've got situations like this where you've got drivers involved in crashes and a lot of cautions. Usually there could be some moments where one team stays ahead of the curve and one team stays out of the trouble. And it feels like everybody's got an equal dosage of slams and crashes tonight, no matter what team you're on and no matter who you're affiliated with.
Yeah, it's been affecting everybody. It's not discriminating right now. As you see, Murray backs up on pit road to try and make his stall. No, the accidents today have not been discriminatory. It has impacted everybody, and so much chaos, Kenneth, that if you notice on the racetrack, the sun is starting to set, and this race, it would go by quick enough where you would hardly notice a change in the daytime settings, but it is getting low down there, and it's not going to be an issue of visibility. We have 30 laps to go, and it's only on ×1 progression. But you can notice the change already. The sun is starting to go low, and it's starting to impact the daylight here, and it's obviously going to reflect on the track temperatures.
And we made the joke that we're going to try and call 10 laps to go if it gets a little bit too dark here tonight if we get down there. But hopefully we're able to finish this race before any of those shenanigans come into play. But you are right, it will affect track temperatures and might help these drivers just a little bit in the case of it dropping. We'll take a look at the weather. We took a look at it when we started tonight's race. It's 88 degrees on the asphalt, currently 78 degrees in the air, which is rather warm for New Hampshire standards. It's usually placed up in the northeast of the United States, usually not very hot at this time of year especially, but still rather warm here up in the northeast with winds to the northeast at about 4 miles per hour. And the weather conditions really haven't changed. It's been a partly cloudy afternoon all day in Sim, but the track temperature dropping even by just a couple of degrees will help in terms of getting grip, although I don't think really it's the problem of grip the drivers are having out of the exit of the corner or just mashing in the throttle. It's just that transition, and I don't think track temperature really has any effect on that. It could maybe have an outside effect, but it really isn't directly caused. It doesn't cause directly what happens there. It's just drivers nab that transition, and that's what's biting all of the drivers here, and we probably didn't expect it to happen early. It's been happening as of late.
Yeah, and it comes down to you're used to running that line with the other cars, and you can do so. So they're trying to run that same line, but it just, with these cars, it is just not working, and they're just trying to. It's out of force of habit. You run down there because you really can't go much higher. So you get off the corner, and it's mostly in 1 and 2. We've seen it in 3 and 4, but not to the same extent as we've seen it in 1 and 2. Usually turn 2 is really violent with that transition with the bumps they got going on down there. So I think that's something you still got to watch out for in these next 25 or so laps that are left in this race. Is you have to pay attention to who's running down there and be careful, because I still think someone up in the front before the race is over is going to try and run down there, and it might just cost them.
It may be the change, and it could happen for the race lead too if it comes down to it. And last time the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series came to this track, everybody was running underneath the yellow lines, and even further out in the Ventura on the apron. No drivers have taken that test so far here this evening. Green flag back in the air once again. We are closing in on the final 25 laps here in round 9 of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series, and it's been all AJ Green since he's taken the lead. Eric Schaefer has given chase. The shade will cover the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, and CJ Munier will go around out of turn 2.
Very unfortunate right there, but for this to be happening, but of course, not hitting anything. That's probably a rare sight here today where you're able to go around and not hit anything at all. So minimal damage to that 89 machine, and we're going to see exactly how this happened this time. We're going to move it back in just a second, get a look here. It looks as though middle 1 and 2 on the restart. He settled into third. You have Lance Hill behind him, Curtis Kelly to the inside, and he's going to drift up a little bit and then I think right there, I think he may have had some help. It looks as though he did. He had some help there from Lance Hill and made contact with the 71, so he did get hit, but no other contact besides that. So yeah, I think if we ride on board with Hill, you're going to see exactly that. You're going to see the 89 getting turned off the front bumper. So here we go once again, looking for a little bit further back on board with Lance Hill.
Catches up to the 89. We'll tuck up on the rear bumper of the Camaro, right on that twitch.tv/Jared'sDevil99. There's the slight hit, and although it's very small, it's a big difference. There packs a punch. That's what sends the 89 around for good on the inside of the racetrack. And it looked like Curtis Kelly was the second car involved. He merged down. There's a look at the right side damage that ended up on the side of his Ford Mustang. And so again, two drivers who were looking for their first win. Curtis Kelly at one point in this race was in the second row, close up to the race leaders, and now he's fallen back significantly. And that's going to allow Eric Schaefer to hold on to second, Joe Sanchez to fall in the third. And guess what, Francisco? Lawson Peel has burned the faster pair. He's got a clean car to end this race.
I knew that this was probably one of the better strategies you can go for. He's saved the faster pair very smartly until now. It is 25 laps to go. If you have it, now's the time to use it. If you get caught up in something, at least you're here, and you're going to probably end up with a better result than most of those other guys that used it earlier. So I applaud the move by Lawson Peel, the patience to run through most of the race and not having used it. And now with that clean race car, we're going to see what he's made of, and he's going to try and make a run for AJ Green.
So we questioned for a while whether Peel would end up with a faster pair. And now we finally have our answer. The multi-time winner this season will now have clear headway to try and challenge for a fourth in 2022. He's got a couple of cars to get around first before he ends up with that crown. AJ Green, he's been dominating this race. He has kept everyone behind him by a good margin. Eric Schaefer, he's had a couple of charges here and there, but the pole sitter has recovered back to second after what looked like a cliff fall off to start. Joe Sanchez, he's led a good amount of this race. He's now in third. And then, of course, Peel back in fourth. Kyle Benson with a torn-up race car. That looked like Lawson Peel's car not too long ago. And Benson has now stepped into the top five. So it's been a crazy race. And you know, Francisco, when you've got damaged cars without front clips, without hoods, without anything, still running high in running position, you know there's been a lot of cautions. You know there's been a lot going on.
Yeah, I mean, if we can, I think we should pull up the race summary and see exactly how many we've had. It's definitely in the double digits, probably close to 20. And indeed, there it is. I mean, we've had no, that's not right. It says we've had 6. When I think it's very obvious we've probably had more than that. We're probably around the 16 or 17 caution mark. I do believe if we've had one on average every 5 to 7 laps tops. I think our longest run has been 8. So I think if the average stands, we're probably at around 15 or so cautions with 25 laps to go. So I think we're probably going to end up close to 20 by the time the race is over. And the intensity is going to pick up. It's not going to decrease at all. And I don't believe for a single second this is the last caution. I think we're still going to have several before the race is over. It's just going to come down to when, who, and who's able to make up the most spots when doing so. And there you see AJ Green, a good restart. He's going to get clear going into turn 1. Schaefer trying to settle into second, but look at that strong move by Peel on the outside. He's going to roll through, try to take the second place spot away. He's going to drift high off the corner. It's going to allow the 22 to try and make a comeback on the back straightaway as they fan out, go single file as well. Side by side for second. Peel's going to try and roll through the outside and take the second spot, but he can't do so. He's going to have to fall in line, and that's going to allow Schaefer to move up to second.
It was a rocket restart out of the 12, and he's now going to get to the back bumper, and he'll shove the 22 diving into turn 1. He won't make the move just yet. He'll bide his time, and he'll play the method game here as we'll cross the line this time out for 20 laps to go for the virtual New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Does anyone have anything for AJ Green? Maybe Peel does, but he's stuck in third, and he has not found a way to pass the 22 just yet.
Of course, before you can challenge for the lead, you have to pass first, second, get into the spot in which you can do so. And right now, the 22 of Schaefer's in his way, being able to do that. But of course, they're still relatively close to the leader, and all he has to do is force the 22 into a mistake. He doesn't have to run his tires off the ground to really get past this 12. And for the 22, and for all he knows, maybe the 22 will catch up to the 48, and they start battling for that top spot. You see the top 5 have kind of broken away from most of the field. That's 10 of Benson that's rounding out the top 5, but oh, Benson, he's running right now with a very damaged front end on his race car. You see it right there as they go by the front straightaway into turn 1. No front end, and he's running in the top 5.
It's been a crazy race, no doubt, for the driver of the 10, but if he can hang in tough and get a top 5 here tonight for New Hampshire, I think that would mean a lot, especially given what's going on. Eric Schaefer, though, in front, went around. It looked like he got loose, and I was about to comment on it. I felt like he was going to keep it saved, but he did not. He slams the inside wall hard, and with 19 laps to go, the second place car in the pole sitter tonight is in peril once again.
And we talked about this a lap or so before, is can the 12 force the 22 into a mistake? And it looks as though he may have, because it did not look like there was any contact up there. And there was almost contact once the 22 was about to go around. We're going to see right here, he's going to get loose, and Peel just barely checks up to avoid getting into the back of him, hard into the inside wall. I say we go on board with Lawson Peel and see just how close of a moment he had with that 22. I can tell you for sure, he had a moment there where he was like, I just used my fast repair and I'm going to get damage again.
Here comes Peel. This is out of turn 2. Schaefer drifts high. Whew. It does not get any closer than that. I think that's just about as thin of a space as the cream in-betweens on Scott Healy's Oreo car. That was intense.
Yeah. It was not the double stuff. It was definitely those really thin ones, you know, the special ones that are just like centimeters apart. That's how close that was right there between those guys.
That's a brown pants moment for Lawson Peel. But he's able to keep it. He's able to keep out of trouble. He's in third. He does lose track position, so he is still in third. He was supposed to be second after Schaefer ran around. Joe Sanchez had made the pass just before the yellow had waved officially because Peel had checked up. But Peel is still in the race. I think that's all that matters. He doesn't care whether he's third or second. He's still in potentiality to win this race if it comes down to it. And his car is as clean as it could ever be after that fast repair. So I think he is definitely blessed, thanking the racing gods that he was not involved in that with Eric Schaefer. As for the 22, he's falling back to 14th. There's a look at the car, all shattered and torn on the front end. His car did receive a fast repair earlier on tonight, so it may be the end of the road here for a clean car on behalf of Eric Schaefer.
Yeah, unfortunately for our pole sitter, it's not going to be the result he was looking for. Showed speed. He's been showing speed this season. Kenneth, just the ability to control the car on restarts has not quite been there for him. Has had some bad luck and won't be able to finish he's desiring. He could still muster a good result if things work out his way, but it won't be because he drives up there, or it likely won't be because he drives the car up there. But how about this for a turnaround? He was flipping about 20 laps ago, and now he's in the top 5. Tyler Warner, solid recovery after using the fast repair.
Definitely so on the 33, and back in Season 2 when Nicholas Fizzuti had gone to victory lane, this car, this 33 machine, had finished in second. Now he's in 5th. If anything happens up at the front, best believe Warner will be there for the taking, along with Murray and Launslager, 2 of the drivers who were there in the Season 2 event in March of 2021. And now Warner will line up the top 5 as they'll double up. It looks like the 1 to green signal will come out once they cross the start-finish line. And it's been the case. AJ Green up at the front. He's led a good amount of laps here in this second half of the race. We'll close in on what's going to be 14 laps to go on the restart. And one thing I don't think we really touched on this, Francisco, is this trend, the leader going on the high side instead of sticking on the very bottom. I think it's just been the banking advantage in the middle of the racetrack as opposed to the very flat on the inside. You want to avoid that as much as you can, especially if you don't know how to throttle control through there. And that's been the case with many of the leaders. None of them choose the inside, apart from Eric Schaefer, who had to at the start of this race. Everyone's been on that outside lane, and they've been able to take advantage. It hasn't lost on a restart yet.
It gives you the straightest line going on the front straightaway just as when you're about to step on the gas. So you're able to go a lot earlier than maybe the inside car can afford to, because you're still kind of turning, versus on the outside when you're probably already going straight. Not to mention the fact that if you do enter turn one side by side, the outside is again the preferable line to be in. You can kind of pin that car down and force them to be in an odd spot. The green flag is out as we do have a cloud cover on the racetrack, so it's making things look real dark. They're side by side for second. Sanchez is trying to make it work on the bottom, right to the rear bumper of your leader. But look at this move on the outside by Kyle Benson with no front end. Is going to move up into second, and he's going to try and challenge for the lead.
How about Kyle Benson? Look at that car, and he is still running quick on the racetrack, and he is closing in on the race leader. As a matter of fact, he ends up in the middle of the racetrack to close in. He'll tuck in that a single file through most of the field. Warner now slides in front of CJ Munier. That's about a further into the top 10. But Kyle Benson is finding a way, and here he comes. He's on the quarter panel of the leader.
Oh, but he gets loose, and he's going to get into the wall.
Into the wall goes Benson. We will stay green. He's kept it straight. Everyone avoids catastrophe. Oh, we were so close to calling Benson as your new race leader with no front clip on the race car. Unfortunately, he ends up in a situation. Now the caution comes out. Is it Benson once again? No. But it's somebody further out behind, Michael Nubra on the 6.
How about that, Kenneth? With no front, I'm pretty sure he probably had some newer tires. That's definitely probably played into a factor as to why we saw him so fast there. But he was on the outside. He briefly got to the quarter panel of AJ Green and was about to side draft him beautifully going into the back straightaway, and could have possibly put himself in a good spot going into 3. But you see right there, the incident gets into the flat like we talked about. It happened in turn 3. Just gets down there. That transition car comes around. This is Kinsey, but unfortunately, not so much luck for that other car down there. Gets into the side of that car. I know that these guys are wanting some beverages. I don't think slamming his car is going to do so. You know, there's an old Dale Jr. commercial for Budweiser that said, just because I got Bud on the car doesn't mean I got Bud in the car. I think someone's got to explain that.
Maybe we'll rehab. We'll somehow find a way to put that in. Maybe we'll play the commercial one night. I don't know. I mean, we've got a team called Drinkin' Bros Racing, so not sure. But there's Jesse Preece, 00. He's the car that got into the spinning Michael Nubra there in a turn 3. Preece had a good night going for him up until the contact, and now he's got no front clip. The 00 on behalf of himself has also used a fast repair, so he's just going to spend the time onto the pit lane with his pit crew. There's a look at what the field has left. Remember, 13 cars started the race in Season 2. About 10 of them ended up finishing under a green-white checkered restart. And it looks like we're following into the same tracks. We're closing in on the final 10 laps here from Loudoun, New Hampshire, with 140 laps complete. And we have thinned the field out considerably. We currently have just about 16 cars still running. Tony Kibbett, the final one in the game, with 6 laps down to the leaders.
Officially, Kenneth, as it's almost 11:10 p.m. We're about to be into this race for 2 hours. So it's been a long one here tonight, one of the longer ones of the season at a track that normally doesn't have a race that takes long. Normally, New Hampshire is one of the shortest races of the season, it being just 300 miles. Of course, this is half of that, 150 miles. So you'd think that this would be a rather short race, but it's turning out to be one of the longer ones of the season. It's been very grueling sitting through these cautions.
Definitely has so. There's a look at the leaders. So looks like they'll have a restart with 8 laps to go. AJ Green in control. Got to thank everybody for watching and tuning on here tonight's stream of MaxSpeedTV and our broadcast of round number 9 of the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series here from New Hampshire. If you enjoy what you're seeing here tonight, or at least just want to see what happens for the rest of the season, of course, we've got full campaign coverage here on MaxSpeedTV with Francisco Bacchiala and I on the commentary team. We'll have Indianapolis, the Brickyard, 1 week from tonight, 9:10 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss it. Next week, Wednesday night, we'll have it here, and we'll see if anybody can repeat themselves in a victory lane, or whether we still see domination come out of Lawson Peel or any of the superstars here in the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series. So don't miss it. 1 week from tonight, April 13th, 2022. So AJ Green will be in the lead. Joe Sanchez will follow through on the inside. Of course, Green, ever since he's taken the lead, he's stayed up high on every single restart. Lawson Peel tried to force Eric Schaefer into a mistake, almost slid into second. He would nonetheless start third on this restart. Tyler Murray, league owner, will be to his outside in fourth and row number 2 before you find Lance Hill and Craig Lautenslager in that third row. Just trying to give support here. Lance Hill has gone through ups and downs tonight. We'll see if he can finally end it on a good note here after winning 1 week ago at Road America, the first road course race of the campaign. He'll look to become the second repeat winner, but AJ Green is also trying to take that away. Joe Sanchez still trying to get his first of season 4. 8 laps to go. Could this be the final restart? We'll find out. Green flag back in the air. Green once again to a solid restart to stay ahead. Sanchez going to dive deep into turn 1. Same deal for Murray, who's trying to take second.
They're both trying to go after the lead and almost contact with the 55, but the yellow's actually going to wave. It looks as though it's Cody Ivy in the back of the field.
Cody Ivy again, second time he's in trouble around turn 1. We saw a similar instance where he got hit by Eric Schaefer on the entrance of the corner. And here's a look at exactly what happened. Here's fighting with Tyler Warner. That's CJ Munier. And just dove it too deep. Got into the 33 and then just slid up the racetrack and slammed the outside wall.
Maybe a little bit of netcode there, because that looked like an aggressive way to spin after what looked to be rather light contact. They don't deny that they hit, but at least the way they hit was not normal. Let's see here. Yeah, right there, a little bit of netcode.
So 81 gets the contact, and it's been a rough night for the Ford Mustang here this evening. He is not 1 lap down, but he spent a good amount of this race low on track position. He is the last car on the lead lap tonight. Of course, Tony Kibbett, the only one 1 lap down or more that's still running here tonight. So we will get another caution flag, and I think with this, Francisco, we're just going to pose it out already. Green, white, checkered scenario will possibly be coming up soon. We'll most likely get a restart probably around 3 laps to go, so it may just be organic in any case, but with the frequency of the yellows, there's no doubt in my mind we may see 1, 2, or maybe all 3 attempts get used up here from New Hampshire to find out a winner.
This could very well be a situation very similar to the ARCA race last season at Homestead Miami Speedway, where it was a situation like this. The race has just been full of cautions. You use up all 3 overtime attempts, and a caution comes out on the last one, deciding the race. And if that's the case, AJ Green just has to nail the restarts. He's going to try to, and he did a pretty decent job the last time, but they were all over him for that one. So if they're able to time it just a little bit better, AJ Green could be in trouble. Joe Sanchez is hungry, trying to get a non-super speedway win. Tyler Murray's not won in almost a calendar year, so he is trying to make sure that he's able to pull this through. Lawson Peel has moved down to the back end of the top 5. He wants to get another win on the season. Craig Lautenslager has also not won in almost a calendar year. So you have guys that have been here winless for most of the last 12 months, and if they're able to pick up a win here, it'll be huge for them.
AJ Green, Joe Sanchez will be at the front of the field, and to play some parallels here before we get set for what could be the end of this race here tonight for the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series. Remember last time we were on a short track with green, white, checkered attempts. Sox Motorsports car was out front. It was Colin Forrester. AJ Green was in second. And AJ Green nosed ahead on the last caution on the 3rd attempt to steal the win away from Forrester, who was in the catbird seat. It looked like all race up until that point in that green, white, checkered stint. And now AJ Green is on Colin Forrester's side. He's the one in the catbird seat on a potential green, white, checkered scenario. We'll get an organic one this time by, but it's Joe Sanchez trying to steal it all away. And remember, before in Richmond, before that last caution came out, before that last restart, Forrester had been perfect. He was able to hold off the field into turn 1 and keep himself in the lead by the time they wrecked out at turn 2, but it wasn't that time in that 3rd attempt. He let AJ Green try to make a move. He let him make that move, and then of course caution came out and gave AJ Green the win. So can we see that tonight? Who knows? We're gonna restart with officially 3 laps to go from Loudon, New Hampshire. Green your leader, Sanchez in second, Murray and Lautenslager line up row number 2, Peel and Hill to your 3rd row, Kelly and Warner back to row number 4, and CJ Munier, Kyle Benson round out your current top 10. It's an organic green, white, checkered restart. Green looking for his second win in this year. Sanchez looking for his first. And everybody else trying to chase them on the way to the checkered flag. Pace car makes the left to pit road. Could it be the final time? Green up and away. And we're racing once again with 3 laps to go from New Hampshire.
That was a pretty decent enough launch by Sanchez. He's going to look to the inside of Green. Green's going to slide up. That's going to allow the 55 of Sanchez to make a move.
They're 3 wide out of turn 2.
Contact.
Peels all the way to the bottom. Lone Slugger is around. Caution
Big
out.
crash.
We'll wave once again. And we will end up in a green-white checkered
Who's the
territory
leader?
for certain. Sanchez is your leader.
Wow, amazing. You saw the contact off turn 2. They were being aggressive, and getting the elbows out has given Sanchez the green light here to be your race leader for overtime. Wow.
Can you believe it? After we've seen multiple yellows come out, it felt like we couldn't catch a spotlight moment. And this is it. Sanchez steals the race lead away from AJ Green as we will stop to our first green-white checkered attempt of 3 here tonight. And here's a look at the change for the lead. Sanchez made contact with the 48. There's the 13 going around. There's the big crash. We'll cover that. But it's right about there. I think the timing loop just caught the 55 at the entrance of turn 3. And that's a lead change right there. Complete.
I think we should go on board with them to see when that caution light came on, just to see how close it was before we move on to the wreck itself. So, how about this, first of all? The inside finally worked on a restart. We saw Green right there, slides up a little bit extra. Sanchez gets his elbows out a little bit, realizes it's go time. A little bit of a hit, so the caution is going to come out a little bit later down the straightaway. And you see they're going to drag race towards this. Going to look for the light here on the right side, and right there I think it changed. Just for a brief second there. It was somewhere on the middle, close to turn 3. Gonna try and look for the light. It's gonna be right off here to the right side. It's still green.
There it is. That's yellow right there.
Now it's yellow, and there you see, you look off to the right, and the gap is just mere inches between the two. Look at that. That is what determined Joe Sanchez being the leader for this restart, and we're going to see how big of a deal that is. Now, moving on to the reason why there is a caution, it was back here. We saw Murray, Longslogger, Peel, all of them were in chaos, 3 wide for the 3rd spot. And I believe right here you're going to see Longslogger gets tagged by the 8. Around he goes. They all start stacking up back there. Unfortunately, Warner gets involved. Of course, Murray in it. Lance Hill in it again. But the good thing, Peel was able to keep it going. There you see, I believe that's Jesse Prees with some front end damage, unfortunately, on his race car. Riding on board with Lance Hill now. You see right there just in front of him, and at this point, there's nothing you can do.
Hill on the brakes. There's Warner, who also tagged in it. Cody Ivy was on the tail end of that line, right up against the outside wall. But we just had 2 big things happen at once. Sanchez somehow finds a way in front of AJ Green out of turn 2 on the straightaway, and then the big crash happens behind. I think luckily here for Murray, he stays in 4th. Hill will stay in the top 5, but Craig Lounslogger, the biggest loser here, he falls to 12th. There he is, car almost severely torn up, but looks better than a majority of the cars we've seen here so far in this event. And now we find ourselves in attempt number 1 of a green-white checker. Lights are out on the iRacing official pace car. We will tell you how it all works and how we'll assess a winner here tonight. We'll go green flag racing with 2 laps to go. Of course, the field in this double file format. If a caution comes out before the leader gets to the white flag, we'll double them up and do it all over again. We have 3 opportunities to do so. But if the leader does get to the white and a caution does not wave in that span from entry to turn 1 to entrance to turn 1 after the white flag, then we will race all the way to the stripe no matter what happens. And the driver who crosses the line first will be the winner. If we exhaust all 3 green-white checkered attempts, whoever is ahead at the time of caution will be determined the winner. Happened before at Richmond. We'll see if it happens all over again. Sanchez had stolen the lead out of turn 2 last time by, but now can he hold it on? He's on the bottom of the restart here. Green flag back in the air. Sanchez catches Green off of guard, and here comes Peel to the inside for 2nd.
It's the first time since the start of the race where the leader chose the bottom, and it works for Sanchez. It's the line that got him the lead. Green's going to try and be aggressive on fuel to try and get back to the position. He's going to lose the front end of his race car, not have the grip. He's going to have to settle in third, and most of the field is single file. Sanchez aggressively trying to get out of here, making sure Peel can't catch him, trying to catch the white flag.
Peel will try one more time. They're fanning out of 3 and 4, but Sanchez will catch the white flag. Final lap here from the Magic Mile. Sanchez has yet to find a way to victory lane. Peel has gone to it 3 times this season. Can he try something finally in 1 and 2? He knows the head for a moment, was not able to get there. This will be the final charge in a 3 and 4. Green back in third. Sanchez diving deep. Here comes Peel sliding up the racetrack. Green is around up to the outside wall, but Joe Sanchez, win number 1 in 2022, comes from New Hampshire.
Peel had an opportunity, and then he decided to go to the outside. I'm not sure if he thought that he could force the 55 in a mistake and try to cross him over on exit, or I'm not sure what he thought, but normally you see guys try to dive it up into turn 3, give it one last shot. He decided to go a different route, and we're going to see the 55 go to victory lane. Oh, and the 13 is going to come up into the back of the 12 after the race, and we saw a couple cars going around. We saw AJ Green go around, Lance Hill go around. A lot of chaos on the last lap. Probably the only happy driver on the racetrack is this guy right here, Joe Sanchez, able to get his 2nd win in the Cup Series. First time he does it with us. His other win came at Talladega. We weren't able to cover that one. So it's his first time that he'll get to celebrate in a broadcasted race in the Cup Series with us here. And there you see the burnout on the front straightaway at the Magic Mile. What a good job here for Joe. He was fast for most of the race. He was contending up there with Scott Haley, with Brian M. Smith, and he just kind of hung on there the whole time. And once it was go time, he made the move and took the lead on the bottom on that restart. And just, you saw the gap right there. And we can't stress it enough. That little bit of a gap that he had when the caution came out, it made the difference.
That is the move of the race, no doubt about it. Sanchez had found a way in front of AJ Green when it looked like nobody can get by him in the last stint. And that gives Sanchez his first win in Season 4 of the 4Wide Racing Cup Series. You said it, Francisco, 2nd overall in his career. First one at Talladega. And now he becomes a new winner here from Loudoun, New Hampshire, as he celebrates on the front straightaway. The 55 of Sanchez to the checkered flag in a next-gen car in 2022. We'll take a moment to get ourselves calm and collected. We'll run through the entire field, see exactly where every driver finished at the end of 154 grueling laps here at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Sanchez wins for the first time this season. He continues our streak of new winners in the campaign that started all the way back with Eric Schaefer at Pocono, then Lance Hill at Road America, and Sanchez is the 3rd driver to complete that trio. Kyle Benson ends up in 3rd with Lawson Peel just short of it in P2. Benson without a front clip to end this race, so a resilient effort out of the Murray Reedy Motorsports machine, and he'll definitely be happy with the survival effort going into Indianapolis. Tyler Murray, who had wrecked on the back straightaway when that pass for the lead was complete on that caution, he somehow rebounds to 4th. Same deal with Lownslugger, who ends up capping off the top 5. Curtis Kelly had been up and down all race long, but finds a way to P6 at the checkered. Lance Hill is 7th. CJ Munier is 8th. Jesse Prees ends up in 9th. And Eric Schaefer, your pole sitter, could have done better tonight. Unfortunately, ended up in some of the chaos, but he's able to cap off a top 10. AJ Green, who went spinning in 3 and 4 on the final lap of the race, was able to end up in 11th. Cody Ivey found a way to rally back to P12. Michael Newbraw ends up in 13th. Cody Kinsey ends up back in P14 in the 93 machine. Tyler Werner ends up top 15, 1 lap down. He's the first car 1 lap down or more, and it doesn't get better from here. Tony Kibbett ends up 16th, 4 laps down. Scott Healy had a wrecked at one point in this race, but dominated the first half. He is 17th, 42 laps down. What could have been event here tonight for that 64 car. Adam Alashar had some troubles to start. Still a relatively quick race for him, but he ends up 64 laps down in 18th. Colin Forster had ended this race 99 laps ago. That's where he ends up lap down wise and number wise. 99 ends up in P19. Mark Harris in the 5 caps off your top 20. And here are the final drivers in this field. Brian M. Smith quit earlier on in tonight's race, ends up 100 laps down in 21st. Austin Bloom is 155 laps down in 22nd. Eric Stewart also the same in 23rd. It appears that Bloom and Stewart did not make the green flag rather, and also did not make the checkered. Was not able to complete their run here tonight from New Hampshire. So what a race at the end, and it was a pass. What appeared to be the final restart of the race, but Joe Sanchez goes to victory lane for the very first time this season, his second overall 4-Wide Racing Cup victory. We'll take a moment to head to victory lane and talk with the driver who celebrates his magic moment. Joe Sanchez, a winner at the Magic Mile. Joe, to describe those final restarts, I think is uncanny. The way you were able to dive underneath AJ Green when it looked like the outside line on a restart was undefeated. You found a way under. When the yellow came out, you nosed ahead. Just walk us through that experience before the emotions of this race win, because that arguably was the move of the race, no doubt.
Yeah, I knew I'd have to get a good restart there to possibly be side by side with them in turn one. I knew if I could at least be side by side with them, I could try to slide up a lane or so, kind of get them into the slick stuff and try to beat them on corner exit. Didn't mean to make some contact there, but I think I just had them by a nose when that caution came out. You know, New Hampshire's a really fun track. I really like these flat, you know, mile and a half, heavy braking tracks with car really loose off the corner. So these are my type of racetracks. So to be able to win here, being also my home track, is pretty cool.
Of course, I think for any sim racer and real life racer, home track win definitely means a lot. But this becomes your first win in this 2022 season, and it had been since Talladega, since you had gone to victory lane, and that was with the Gen 6 cars. And now everybody, including yourself, steps into a new era with this next-gen Gen 7 Cup Series car. And you're able to master it here at a place where a lot of drivers had trouble. How was it to keep a handle with this package and with this car, the dynamics of it, over 150 laps when it felt like a lot of drivers struggled with it?
The new update on this car definitely made it a lot more difficult to drive and more unpredictable. But you know, the more I'm racing this car, the more comfortable I'm getting with it and kind of learning its nuances, because it drives nothing like the old one or any of the B and C cars. But you know, just I've learned you can't really drive it as deep into a corner. Kind of have to just really be careful with these brakes so they don't lock up, and be gentle on corner exit with these things, even on high banked mile and a halves. But these cars, I really am starting to truly like them. I think they're a really challenging, fun car to drive, and look forward to more racing with this car.
Of course, more racing will happen, but a lot of that racing for you now with this win will end up in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series playoffs, which you weren't able to make a playoff push last season, but you find a way here. Now with this win, you are locked in. What are the thoughts about that? What's going to be a playoff push here in 2022 for you?
It's definitely going to be difficult. A lot of guys who are locked in are also really good racers, so it's going to be a challenge to get through the first couple rounds there. But hopefully can you know, keep some momentum and just kind of get some consistent finishes. I've had some bad luck in the last couple of races, so hopefully I can you know, keep up some momentum here.
Well, nonetheless, a lot of happiness here out of New Hampshire. A crazy way to end this race. After a lot of cautions, a lot of laps run under yellow, you end up to the checkered flag, your first one of 2022. Before we head off to the Brickyard, Joe, and before we let you go to celebrate your win here tonight from the Magic Mile, is there anybody you just want to thank for making tonight's run possible?
Thank you guys for putting on an awesome broadcast each and every week. Murray and all the admins for putting on this league, and all the Drinking Bros guys. It's cool to see. We got a couple of them in the top 10 here. Lawson running P2 here. And then thank Paul's Setup Shop for our open setups for a couple other leagues we run.
Well, we certainly appreciate the time. We'll let you celebrate here from New Hampshire. Joe, on behalf of our team, I want to congratulate you on your first win here in Season 4 of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. And, of course, We hope to see you 1 week from tonight as we head over to the Brickyard. But from here, enjoy the win. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Joe Sanchez in the 55 to victory lane, 42 laps led, and that pivotal pass on AJ Green to take the win away. We'll step to second place. It is Lawson Peel, 3-time winner here this season. Not able to make it a fourth, but still a solid finish to the race. Ends up in second in the final restart. Lawson, we got you here on pit road, and that was a crazy restart. You had fresh tires, you had a fully repaired car after what felt like a lot of the race where your car had suffered with a lot of damage. What did you feel you needed there on that final restart to get around Joe Sanchez?
I needed to be on the top. Kept drawing the bottom there on the end, and that just was not going to work. So, yeah, the top might have done it. If I could have gotten in fourth place for one of those last restarts, that would have been what I needed. But, yeah, Joe fortunately was able to edge ahead, I guess, by a bumper with that second to last caution there, or the last caution, to get the lead on that last restart. And he's my teammate, so he took the bottom and sort of tried to coordinate that last restart as best we could there. And, that definitely worked out for me, being able to get in front of AJ and get second. But, yeah, just got damaged early, lap 5 tonight in that incident with AJ and Lance. So was just kind of riding around, waiting to use that fast repair with about 30 to go and give it a shot. But, yeah, sorry for the extended duration tonight. Lots of yellows, but happy to come home second.
And I think if there's a proper way to describe this race on your end, it's probably rally back. The way you came back from the damage there. And I think us up in the booth, Francisco and I, were wondering, when is Lawson going to use that fast repair? When is he going to pull it out and finally run up to the front, compete for the win? And it came up in that final stint of the race where all of a sudden you had a clean Chevy Camaro and you were able to bounce back here for second. Walk us through how it is to be resilient, especially with the fast repair given to you in this series after what seemed to be a crazy first half where it looked like you could not escape damage at all.
Yeah, you got it right, exactly right there. I thought about using it at about lap 100, but it was definitely the right decision to hang on to it for a little while longer. You come in here with one fast repair, you want to keep the car clean and not have to use it, just to, have it as insurance. Unfortunately tonight we got damaged real early, but I guess the fortunate thing about it was it didn't slow the car down too terribly bad. I was able to still keep pace with most everybody on the lead lap, and we had enough cautions that it never really hurt me too bad. So yeah, it was just kind of ride around mode until the right time to use it. Just wanted to have it at the end and have plenty of tires at the end and give myself a chance, which is what we did there. So, yeah, glad I hung on to it. And yeah, certainly wasn't fun to have to drive around for 100 laps with damage, but you never know. If you use it too early, I mean, you never know when you're just going to have another accident. So like to hang on to it as long as you can.
That's the wonders of the fast repair game and playing what time to deploy it and finally end up with a clean race car at the end. You're able to do it at the right time, hit the sweet spot. You end up with your second place finish, second place finish. That's hard to say. Say it fast 5 times, but you end up second once again off of what's been a great first half of the season. And now we work over to the second half. I think officially Indianapolis will be the cross of the threshold at halfway before we get to all the tracks that will end up before we start the playoffs. Obviously, you're locked in, so no worries about fighting for your playoff life, but what's the motive here for the final stint before the playoffs begin at Nashville Superspeedway?
Well, Indianapolis, like you just mentioned, is one of my favorite tracks. I'm going to just really look forward to that from an enjoyment standpoint. Just always had a special place in my heart. So I wish we were still running the Brickyard Oval in real life NASCAR. Hated they went back to the road course again this year, so missed that oval race. So I'm looking forward to that. Glad we get to do it on here. And yeah, just keep coming out and having fun. I just enjoy getting on here midweek and racing with everybody. It's a really fun racing environment, real relaxed environment in this league, and we can all, talk in the chat and have a good time and, just enjoy ourselves on a weeknight. So just enjoy coming out and racing with the guys, and I'll keep doing that.
So you end up second. It's going to be a lot of fun going into Indianapolis, and then Coda, our second road course race of the season and beyond. Lawson, though, before we let you go on this second place finish here tonight from the Magic Mile, is there anybody you just want to thank and shout out for making tonight's run possible?
Yeah, thanks to the Four Wide guys as always. Thanks to you guys for sticking with us tonight. I know it was a marathon, so thanks for sticking it out and putting on a good broadcast. Congratulations to my teammate Joe for bringing home the win there. I was happy to see that. Appreciate all my other teammates at Drinking Bros Racing. And yep, that's about it.
All smile ear to ear for you and Joe Sanchez, the teammates going 1-2. Lawson, on behalf of our team here at MaxSpeedTV, want to congratulate you on the second place finish, and of course, wishing you the best of luck as we head to the Brickyard 1 week from tonight.
Appreciate it, Kenneth.
That's Lawson Peel, who ends up in second. What a season it's been for him so far. His second straight second place finish. I struggled saying that the first time. It's tough. It's a tongue twister, no doubt. But Peel ends up P2, just short of the race win, but no doubt a lot of good points will go to his efforts for the playoffs later this year. We'll talk to the driver who ends up third. And I think the first question, Kyle, is how? Front clip, demoralized, car is beat up, you still had pace. How did you do it?
Sure will, man. I mean, it's been a while, man. This is probably the worst start of a season I've had in a long time. I had Tyler Werner flip over me. I was in 3 big ones, something like that. I was just riding around surviving, and then Lance Hill decided to take out his teammate. So then I just kind of just drove through it. I said I was clear, everybody was clear, and I just finished third. So I don't know. This thing was a freaking train wreck. I loved it. Had a great time. But man, this thing was a can opener at the end of the race.
It was crazy for all of us, no doubt. I mean, for the drivers, it was probably even worse. So us up at the broadcast booth, we don't have to deal with driving. But nonetheless, Kyle, I mean, this race, I mean, it was tough from beginning to end. Of course, cautions plaguing a lot of what could have been green flag racing. And this car, once again, with the newness of it, seems to provide another challenge at these types of tracks where drivers step out, drivers get a little bit too overeager, and then we arise all the problems where people spin out by themselves, people get loose, people overcorrect. How was it to try and master this car? Because it feels like a lot of the field is still rather learning it. What was it been? How has it been, at least from your perspective behind the wheel?
I love it. I think it has a great sense into what the car is going to do. I think everybody's trying to still get used to it. I got used to it pretty quick. It felt nice, and then I just kind of screwed it at like lap 136. So that's when I found out that the car doesn't like me at some points, and I put more damage on the thing. But I mean, I almost took the lead with no front clip. So I mean, I'll give it to myself on that one. But it's definitely a big learning curve because we're used to the old Gen 6 cars where you're just kind of just riding around the draft pack. But this now actually takes a little bit of skill, and it actually takes a little bit to drive the thing. So that's what I really enjoy about it, and that's why I'm starting to. I got used to these cars now, so at least I know where the where to go and what's the right the limit and what's not the limit, and just trying to find a sweet spot in between.
So it's a survival effort. I think it was kind of emerging out of the remnants of an atomic bomb. I guess that's a proper way to describe tonight. But we move 1 week ahead. Indianapolis to Brickyard. You've had previous good races there at the track last season. You finished in the top 5. What are the thoughts going into the Brickyard this time around with the Gen 7?
I just gotta finish these races, man. I'm pretty deep in points. Just trying to get good finishes in, man. It's the first top 5 that I had, I think, all year, I believe. I'm not sure, but it's definitely been a struggle. I'm just gonna try to click off some good finishes here and there, and if a win comes, a win comes. But I'm just more or less just putting those to the grindstone. I really like Indianapolis. I think it's one of my more favorite tracks. It's just the high speeds of the slow corners. I always like those, and send the car and all that good fun stuff. But I'm really looking forward to Indianapolis.
No doubt we're looking forward to it as well from the broadcast team. But Kyle, before we let you go here on this third place finish from New Hampshire, is there anybody you just want to thank for making it all possible?
I'd like to thank you all for dealing with us for tonight. It was a bit of a marathon. I'll give it to y'all for sticking around, but I'd like to thank TJ's team and T-Mer Designs for making me this beautiful paint scheme that I accidentally wrecked it up a little bit, but she'll be all right for next week. But everybody in the 4 Wide Racing Series, man, it's just a nice group of people, and we're not gonna be pressed about stuff that happens, and we just kind of just run our line, run a race, and just kind of chill on a midweek. So it's just definitely a lot of fun, and hope we get to do it again next week.
Yeah, but to get third, no doubt, a marathon, but it's always a marathon, not a sprint. And tonight you get third place on behalf here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. And obviously, a part of our team want to congratulate you on the third place finish and give props to having that race car get to third place at the end of it.
Hey,
Wish you the best of luck
beautiful.
going into the Brickyard.
Hey, I appreciate it, man.
That's Kyle Ensign, who ends up in third here tonight. 14 laps led, and that's what the car looked like at the finish. Unbelievable way that he was able to keep that car competitively at the front of the field, and no doubt shows a lot of the resilience for many of the field here tonight. Francisco, on what was a very tough one from start to finish. Of course, I don't think anybody really wanted it to go this way. Caution plagued the entire race. It felt like every single lap we would get one, but we had a lot of good moments in that pass for the lead. We had some drama there. We had a car go up and over. We've got New Hampshire out of the way, and now we head to Indianapolis. But I think before we even talk about next week, Joe Sanchez, move of the race, and to cap it off with his first win of 2022. What a way to do it for him.
Yeah, that was a great job by Joe Sanchez. 6 inches, perhaps, is what that gap was that determined who was going to lead on the final restart. And Joe Sanchez, at the right time, executed the best possible restart from P2 and was able to take the lead away, fired off great, and held off Lawson Peel for the win. It's his first win of the season, first at a non-super speedway racetrack, so I know he's going to be happy about that one. And this one being in the regular season is going to definitely help him build some momentum as we move towards the second half of the regular season. Of course, we have Indianapolis next week, then followed by Coda, Bristol, and then we have the last 6 races. So I do believe we're actually right on the mathematical halfway point. I believe this is round 9. We have 9 remaining in the regular season. So, right at the halfway point, Joe Sanchez gets his win. Lawson Peel still sitting at 3 wins, has gotten another top 5. I believe he got a top 5 here tonight as well, finishing P2. So he's been very consistent, very fast, very reminiscent of what we saw Colin Forster being able to do last season, Kenneth. And, knowing what we saw out of Forster last season, got wins early, was able to maintain consistency, but just wasn't able to do the same thing in the playoffs. If you're the 12, if you're Lawson Peel, do you look at that and tell yourself, I have to get a couple more wins between now and the end of the season to keep my championship stocks up?
We'll have to find out. And Peel, though, still a great finish for him in second. It's going to give him a lot of points. And after finishing second at Road America, then the consistency just keeps on rolling for the 12 Cobalt Chevrolet Camaro. We'll see whether he gets more wins on the second half of the campaign. But ultimately, things are still up in the air for everything. You took a look at the schedule. And, of course, Indianapolis will be 1 week from tonight. And then we'll take a 1-week break. We'll take 1 week off on a Wednesday. And then we'll return the following week to go road course racing for the second time this season. It'll be over in the deep heart of Texas, Austin, Texas, to be exact, for Circuit of the Americas. We'll hope to see you there. And, of course, our continuing coverage throughout all of 2022. So Joe Sanchez ends up with his first win of the year, his second overall, and he's in victory lane after a race here from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. And round number 9, we get to round number 10 1 week from tonight at Indianapolis, and the Brickyard will surely bring another fantastic outing. So for Tyler Murray and all the people part of the race council that makes things happen here at the 4Wide Racing Cup Series, and on behalf of our team here at the MaxSpeedTV, and for my colleague in the booth tonight, Francisco Bacallao, my name is Kenneth Bueno. Saying so long, good night from the northeast of the United States. We'll see you over in the racing capital of the world, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, for round 10.